Hi, my name is Chris Van Howen, and I'm a U.S. Senator from the state of Maryland.
Este white boy dice que es un senador de la América.
Nobody really gives a shit about me where I come from, so I decided to get in the news and save an MS-13 gangbanger who beats his wife.
El white boy está mucho loco. Dice que quiere llevarse un criminal back to el América.
So I came to El Salvador in order to go into the jail and see the MS-13 gangbanger.
Este pendejo quiere entrar a la cárcel como si fuera su casa.
But they told me to go fuck myself and that they would only listen to President Trump. They seem to love Trump out here.
That's right. El Salvador is MAGA country, bitches.
Hi, my name is Chris.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Newman, a.k.a. Good Logic. I know everything looks different. Everything looks different. Joe, what's going on? What's going on? We don't recognize you anymore. First, that's a little better. That's a little bit more like home. There we go. There we go. We got our backgrounds up and going. That's right. That's right. All right. I need to check my audio because whenever I move, invariably my audio settings are awful, terrible, lousy. So let me just make sure that everything is tip-top. Spots, Joe on the casting couch. All sound is good, and this is from my audio guru. So thank you, Joe. There you go. There we go. 5x5, whatever that means. But it worked for that Faith character from Vampire Slayer, so it worked for us. All right. All right. What do we have going on tonight? Well, we have a lot. There's a lot. I have a lot I need to cover with you guys tonight. It's going to be a very, very busy show. I need you all to be busy in the chat and schmoozing away there because it's going to be a very, very hectic and active show tonight. I got Letitia James hoisted on her own petard, and I'm going to break it down with details you likely do not know very much about. I also have details on Kilmar Abrego, the nicest MS-13 guy ever, Daddy of the Year, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, being exposed for maybe surprise, maybe not being quite as nice as everyone has led the public to believe. It's weird. It's weird when an MS-13 member is kind of an a-hole. It's kind of strange, right? I mean, who would think? Who would think? Well, apparently the goods have come out in black and white, details from his own very ever-loving wife, Jennifer Vasquez, who's not at all milking the situation for more money on GoFundMe. Oh, no, not at all. That's not why she's sitting there. The ever-loving wife looking to get more and more people to donate to her cause. No. It's because she truly loves this peaceful man of God, this man of God, Kilmar. Oh, where are you, Kilmar? Where are you? Oh, sitting there. You can picture Jennifer Vasquez, his wife, standing on the balcony, just calling out, saying, Kilmar, wherefore art thou, Kilmar? We also have Harvard deciding that they'd rather go woke and broke than actually, than actually look like they're caving to Trump. Although I have sources that say they may be in the midst of negotiating a deal. I've got a bunch of other stories, small little snippets that I plan on throwing in along the way. So it's going to be a really good show. Make sure you stick around, hit that like, hit that subscribe, do all those button things that people do when you're watching podcasts you like. Whether or not you like me, you can still do it. It's a nice thing to do. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt anyone. It really doesn't. You'll never even remember that you did it. So if you decide to chime in with a comment like peas and butter over here, all the better. But yeah, you like the digs? You can actually see my monitor. Which monitor? This monitor? This one. See. Yeah. Please explain if Representative Holland's El Salvador crosses the line of the Logan Act. Well, we will get there. We will get there. I plan on pulling up that act and talking about that when we get a little bit more into the Kilmar Abrego Garcia story. So I definitely plan on breaking that down for you, all in due course. So that's going to happen. Brother, I told you the local LEOs, IJ and BI, had all the facts straight about Kilmar last week, even though I told I am in the business of deporting illegal aliens out of this country. Even though I told I am in the business, I never questioned you. I never said you were wrong. I was like, I don't know. I don't know. He's upset. He's upset that they didn't have his kosher meal. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. Harvard is caving. Doesn't want Bob Jones treatment. Harvard is caving. They are. They're standing strong, saying, "Oh, stand with us. Stand with us." But they are going to cave. It only goes to show that my program for fixing our education system is so spot on that I hope this was a test case, and we'll get more into Harvard momentarily. In fact, I think is that the first story? Nah, the first thing I just want to cover is this. This was a couple of days old. I haven't even really looked at the story other than the headline that initially dropped, but I just want to get clear the air on this. Dean Caldwell, top advisor to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, escorted out of the Pentagon after being identified in the leaks probe. See, now I have a couple of thoughts on this. Number one, I think that when puberty hits, he may develop into being a fine-looking young man. Definitely should use the facial hair. It'll help the jawline. That will definitely once that starts to grow in, definitely should go with that. But all kidding aside, Dan Caldwell, not Dean, Dan Caldwell over here. You see, either you're saying there was nothing wrong, or you're saying there was something wrong. That's what I don't get about this whole thing. Now, it could be that there's an outside independent folks who are reviewing all this. I had sort of clipped this and put it aside back when I thought I would be doing a show sometime, not 8 days after the last time. And I apologize. Those of you who don't know what happened with my schedule, if you follow me on Locals, I put out a schedule. What I anticipated was going to be my schedule coming out of the Passover holidays. So let me just explain to you all for just a moment what happened with that. But yeah, on this story, I just want to get out there on this Dan Caldwell guy. I don't care about Dan Caldwell. I think that it's not a good look when you end up throwing one guy under the bus. I would just say there was nothing wrong. It was clumsy. If you want to tell me he's being thrown, his clumsiness in adding someone in there, which I very much doubt it was the author from The Atlantic who was thrown in there. It's probably someone else. But that whoever was thrown in there had sufficient ties to The Atlantic that they basically said, "Oh yeah, you could pretend that it was you instead of me, and I'll clip everything and give it to you." But yeah, that whole Signal Gate thing. I don't see the point throwing anyone on the bus. I don't care if he looks like Eddie Munster. That doesn't matter. It's not a reason to throw under the bus. And I just think it's a bad look overall for the administration. I guess if there's a separate investigation, again, I haven't gotten too much into that story. Because of the Jewish holidays, I ended up really being thrown out of whack and being able to keep up with what was happening in the news, because the day before Passover was very, very hectic. And then I had Sabbath, and then I had 2 days of Passover. And then I came out of that, and I was wiped, and there was just the struggle was real, which is why I ended up not streaming on Monday nights. And then yesterday, I was driving around going crazy trying to get my hands on a rental car so I could drive down to Virginia Beach, which is where I am now, because for the latter portion of Passover, my wife's whole extended family comes down to Virginia Beach, and I was planning on streaming the Karen Reed trial because they were supposed to be wrapping up and starting the trial on Tuesday. Well, the one thing I saw on Monday night when the first couple of days of Passover ended and I was able to start checking out what was happening, I saw that, they got nowhere on selecting the jury, but they were hoping to have it done on Tuesday. So I'm frantically trying to get my hands on a rental car to get down here, and then I'm driving down which I ended up driving literally yesterday 500 miles, just blasting music to keep myself awake. And yeah, 10 points if you can figure out what I was blasting. I doubt you will, though. I doubt it. Yeah, anyhow, bottom line is, so then I stopped off in Baltimore on the way for my afternoon and evening prayers at 8 o'clock, and I check out and I see, oh, look at that, Karen Reed. Look at that. They got the jury seated. I'm like, all right, this is perfect. I have my studio set up. Everything's going to be good. And then I see a headline saying, opening statements to begin next week. And I just started laughing. I was like, I went so nuts, so insane trying to get coverage on the Karen Reed from day one. I was like, I want to be in it day one, every day, not miss a second of this trial. And like I said, I rented a car, and now I'm driving a total of, 1,000 miles back and forth just because I wanted that coverage. And the judge there, God bless her soul, decided, oh, we're not going to do it this week. Let's take the next 3 days off. Let's start fresh on Monday, which means I have Passover, the last days of Passover, the last 2 days we can't work either, which is this year comes out. It's going to start Friday night and end Sunday night. So that means basically those 48 hours are like Passover, and I'm not able to do any work. And then 9 o'clock at night, I got to get in my car with my studio, drive my tail back on up to back home to Jersey, and then start streaming at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to be basically driving till 6 o'clock in the morning, and then streaming the whole day on Monday. Great. It's perfect. Whereas if I didn't bring a car, I didn't bring my studio here, I would just fly back Sunday night. But no, that's not happening. So no, I'm not too pleased. Not too happy. But as I said in my video, which I left on Locals, Mensch tracht und Gott lacht. Mensch tracht und Gott lacht, which is I don't know if it's German or Yiddish. I heard it as being Yiddish, but it really could be either. It means man plots and God laughs. Mensch tracht und Gott lacht. The point being, the greatest minds can plan all they want, but at the end of the day, it's all God's plan that works out. And what God wants is ultimately for my own best. So I'm not complaining at all. I just thought it was funny that as to all the machinations I went through, which were completely for naught, and if anything, just making life way harder, way harder. And yeah, but I do plan on streaming it on Monday. I hope you're going to be there watching the Karen Reed trial with me starting Monday morning. I will be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed after driving back from Virginia. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait. Yeah. So that's the story on that. Anyway, so that's why I ended up not streaming last night. I was still driving down to Virginia. That's why I've been away. I plan on streaming not just tonight, but tomorrow. Maybe we'll do Layback Law on Friday. I don't know. So I'm going to be tonight, tomorrow, and then Monday morning. I'm not going to be streaming Sunday night, but Monday morning, I'm hoping I should be back in time and start streaming that Karen Reed trial right away, out of the gate. And I hope you'll join me for that. And make sure you hit like, subscribe, hit the bell. That way you'll know. And follow me on Locals, goodlogic.locals.com. That way you'll know when and where you can find me wherever God has thrust me. So there you go. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is not even like virtual. I can actually... No, it's too far away. That's not going to work. But I can throw something out. So you can see it eventually. See, it's a real background. Yeah. Anyway, Sherry Lawless member for 16 months. Hey, what happened to Doge with their new fixation? I guess they forgot about the hatred of Elon. Apparently they did. Member for 16 freaking months. Paul Freeman, bless you, Joe. Fun time and learning. Yeah, thank you. Law of self-defense. So I want to share with you one more thing that was an outgrowth of this whole trip down here in the Karen Reed trial debacle related to law of self-defense here. He looks like the camp counselor decided to not leave you. Oh, yeah, that's right. Come to Camp Fun and touch a lot. That's right, kids. Got a spot right here for you on the couch, kids. My good friend Andrew Branco. So Tim Pool's booking agent texted me and asked me if I was interested in debating the Carmelo Anthony case, and on this Friday, I'm coming back to Culture War. And I was like, I'd love to do that, but A, I'm on vacation, and B, I was like, and I have the Karen Reed trial. That's what I thought when I got that text message. So I was like, I'm on vacation. But if you need someone this week, I highly recommend you get your hands on Andrew Branco. Literally wrote the book on self-defense, and he's a funny guy, great guest. You'll have a good time. And then when she got back to me like a day later, she's like, oh yeah, actually, we already booked him. So I was like, oh, cool. So you guys should make sure you check out Tim Pool's Culture War this Friday at noon or 11 a.m. when he's going to be on there. I don't know if he has an adversary in this, but yeah, end of the day, he will be talking about Kilmar Anthony and the viability of a self-defense claim, which I think is probably going to be a struggle for for Carmelo Anthony. Why is Joe on a casting couch? Why, Joe? What? This is do you know how hard it is when you go on location, just find some place? I'm in a random house here that was rented out, try to find some place that I could set up a camera and have my monitors and have everything. It's not easy. It's not easy. Okay? So no, I don't have my normal swivel chair. I don't have that. You get much more of the full picture of me instead of my face being like in your face. But yeah, that's what I have here. I have a couch. It is warm in here, and I don't know where the clicky thing is from the fan. There's a fan overhead. I was gonna open up the sliding door here, but there's just like four million mosquitoes that are waiting to fly on in here. I like opened up for a second. I was like, holy hell. So yeah, I'm probably working up a bit of a sweat, which only lends itself even more to the whole casting couch creepy camp counselor. How is that kid a top advisor? I don't know. I can't answer your questions. Of course, they're all the Passover excuses. Okay, I'm convinced Jewish people don't control the world. With the amount of holidays Jews celebrate, who has the time? Welcome back to the internet. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate that. Please consider looking at the Georgia versus Mahendra Patel case about a guy accused of kidnapping a 2-year-old in Walmart. The Walmart video just came out, and I would love to hear what you think about it. I don't even know anything about this. What do we got here? Mahendra. G-A-B. Patel. Sounds interesting. Wow. There's probably a lot to this story. I have a feeling, without knowing anything about this other than just the blurb headline, it's probably a parent who took his kid from like in a hostel, that's my first guess. That's often what the situation is, but I'm not weighing in until I look at it. I'll try to take a look at it though, Melanie. Thank you. Thank you for calling to my attention. I thought the trial starts Tuesday, not Monday. Does it really? I just thought it was next week. If it's Tuesday, all the better. I'll be so happy if it's Tuesday. Now I got to check that up. Now you're just trying to make me feel better. When is Karen Reed? They said next week. I just saw that. When is Karen Reed? Oh, you could have just made my night if that's actually true. Opening statements. Oh my God, you're so correct. Oh, I love you. Oh my God, thank you. Thank God. Oh, thank God. Oh my God, I'm so pleased. Oh, you just made my day. Oh, God. Wow. See, I told you God loves me. Who questioned that? Who questioned that? God loves me so, so much, and I bless you, Nana, for pointing that out to me. Thank you so much. I just saw there was a headline. I was like, all right, I guess that it was starting next week. That is amazing, amazing news. All right, Tuesday morning, let's do it. April 22nd. Who's with me? Who's with me? Let's do this. Oh, I'm so thrilled. Oh my God. I was like, I'm gonna be dead on Monday. Oh, I'm so relieved. Joe, you know Can't Read starts Tuesday next week, not Monday. Apparently that's the consensus. a lot of people tell me that's the consensus. Tim Pool has not yet found someone for me to obliterate. Apparently it's going to be Tim Pool versus you because Tim Pool was of that position. That's is of that position. But I think it'll take you like just 3 minutes with like, just be like, here, read pages 30 to 32 of my book. Okay, and then you'll understand why he's cooked. Just read my book. You give him a little signed copy there. I actually have. My wife picked up for me. I'll share with you all here a little secret for my next appearance on Tim Pool. I already have it in my house. I got an NYPD beanie. I'm torn about whether I should wear it on his show. I haven't told him yet, obviously. I'm sharing it with you guys, or whether I should give it to him as a gift. I'm torn. Maybe I'll get two, so we can do that. So yeah. I was like, I actually sent to his booking agent. I said, "Woe unto anyone who squares off against Andrew Branca on this issue with this fact pattern." I'm just good luck, good luck. Went fishing at Sandbridge Pier today. Past you. Oh, that's so nice. Karen Reed Dreidel just landed on Tuesday. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Indeed. Hi, Joe. Hard to stay up late enough to catch you, so I'm starting behind. Love your streams. Thank you so much, Lily. I know you love my streams. She's been here a member for like damn near 3 years. Longest running membership in the Lawgic land is Lily Smith right here. And I definitely greatly appreciate your support, Lily. You're awesome. Don't take your glasses off. You will lose them almost definitely. So you have time to review the movie Minecraft. That's not happening yet. Wait, aren't you in Germany? How did that end up happening? We're literally right on the water here. It's a beautiful place, though. Thank God. It's really it's not me. I don't fund this at all. This is just my in-laws. They bring everyone down here. So let's get into the news. I've got a lot to cover with. Let's start with Harvard. I'm going to break down for you everything you need to know about the Harvard story. Okay? Let's break it down. So a couple of days ago, Harvard was basically standing very, very strong. This was what they were saying a couple of days ago. No government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue. President Alan Garber, as if like this is as if they're quoting Jefferson. Some douchebag who's president of Harvard, President Alan Garber. Like, oh yeah, remember when Jefferson penned this and it was restated by President Alan Garber? No. It's just said by this doofus, President Alan Garber, very proudly declaring no government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue. Oh, well, what about the courts, though? What about the courts? You think the courts are authorized to decide what standards you can use for your admission practices? Do you think that the courts have a say on that? Because I think they do. In fact, the Supreme Court has weighed in on that very issue. They've weighed in and they've said, you can't do that. That's discrimination. When you're keeping out, I don't know, someone because they're Asian kids, because you got too many of them, keeping out white kids, trying to take their spots with other minorities or other DEI prerequisites that you decide to sprinkle on in there. Oh, we don't have enough trans kids graduating in the class of 2027. We're going to have to, we need more trans kids. Whatever stupid yardsticks you decide to use, that doesn't make it legal. So you're sitting here trying to say they're trying to portray the Trump administration as if it's being uniquely fascistic, when indeed the Trump administration is actually trying to uphold the law, kind of like what the executive branch does. The executive branch, you see, Congress passes laws like, I don't know, Title IX, non-discrimination laws. Then those laws are interpreted by the courts and they say, hey, you can't use DEI bases for who you admit to your universities. And then it's executed by the executive branch, like the Trump administration. So all these people who are trying to act all high and mighty, oh, we are above the fray. How dare he come in here? How dare he tell us who we can admit? He's not the one who's doing it. No. It's SCOTUS that did it. Yeah, the courts did it. Oh, it's been a couple years now, I think. Yeah. So, in fact, Harvard was the loser. I think they were one of the two universities who were named in the lawsuit. So they know damn well what the law is. And now you got the executive branch saying, you're not following the law. We're kind of making sure that you are. Now, I know you could say that that's part of what the Trump administration is doing. And indeed, I'll tell you this much. They are going further in saying that, as far as what kind of DEI practices they're teaching, I think that's part of what the Trump administration is pushing. But if they're in the wrong, that doesn't give you justification now to just ignore your obligations with respect to your admissions processes. So where the hell do you get off standing off as if we stand for what's right when you're clearly in the wrong, at least partly on this issue? So that being the case, they can basically take their stupid, twisted, woke, backward, bizarre efforts to twist our culture into being some sort of completely self-defeating, self-destructive, self-immolating type of ideology and foist that onto America and pretend that they're going to cloak themselves in this nobility of, oh, we're standing up against a fascistic government that wants to tell us what we can teach, who we can admit, when they're completely ignoring the law. Unbelievable. So moving forward, President Trump, this came out. This was breaking like a couple hours ago. Let's hear for what the Trump administration was stepping up here. And trouble times coming for Harvard.
The Trump Justice Department.
That's too low. We can make that a little bigger, can't we? I think we can.
The Trump Justice Department has asked the Internal Revenue Service to revoke Harvard University's tax-exempt status. This comes after President Trump suggested that move on Truth Social earlier in this week, that Harvard should lose its tax-exempt status. The move could cost the Ivy League institution billions of dollars. The Trump administration has already halted more than $2 billion in federal grants to the university over what the White House says was a failure to address anti-Semitism on campus.
Yeah.
The Trump Justice Department
which they're saying it's not about DEI, it's about your stupid anti-Semitic, ridiculous curricula that you got going on there. Now, I want to point out to you that I have talked about the way to fix the problem with our education system. I've talked to you about it. And this story only goes to show how correct my perspective was as to how we can easily remedy the education crisis and the ridiculous education loan crisis that so many young people, and let's face it, not just young people anymore, people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s are still dealing with respect to paying off their education loans because of the insane prices of tuition. And let me just cover a couple of things here as far as the IRS making plans to rescind the tax-exempt status. The tax-exempt status of Harvard University, which would be an extraordinary step of retaliation as Trump administration seeks to turn up pressure on the university that has defied its demands to change its hiring and other practices. And then we have this clown here, Brian Allen, saying Trump just got what he wanted. The IRS is moving to strip Harvard's tax-exempt status days after he demanded it. Let's be clear. This isn't about taxes. This is about power. Harvard refused to gut its diversity programs, hand over admission data. Why are you not handing over admission data? You have to. If you're being investigated that you're not actually following the law, of course you have to turn it over. And let the government dictate campus speech, so now they're being punished. Yeah, okay, it's not dictating speech. It's not dictating speech. It's basically trying to stop you from having your own student body harass anyone who they think may possibly support Israel. This is what authoritarian looks like. Oh, you don't know the first damn thing about what authoritarian looks like because you went through 4 years of the Biden administration. You had zero tips with that, weaponizing the IRS to settle political scores. Where do we see that? Where do we see that? Weaponizing the IRS. Who invented that? Who invented that? Oh, let me see. Let me think. Was that, when did that happen? Oh, weaponizing. Oh, you mean Barack Obama? Were you complaining then? Were you writing little angry tweets at Barack? Hey, Barack, you're weaponizing the IRS. This is authoritarianism. There was, to the extent you believe that this is about power, at least this has the fig leaf cover of actually trying to execute the law. And I can look at this fairly and say, okay, if you're on the other side of the aisle, that's how you're going to perceive what Trump is doing here. I can respect that. I think they're out of their minds and stupid, because they're out of their minds and stupid on virtually any issue that they're forced to cover. And this is no exception at all. However, I can at least recognize that that's a take that someone can have here. Whereas the other side is looking to ensure that the laws are being followed. That Barack Obama didn't have any sort of cover for when he basically used the IRS to target his political enemies and anyone who had an R in their name, for crying out loud. They could do it to Harvard. They could do it to anyone. This is let's finish off our little post here with some fear porn. What they are doing is they are actually, meaning Harvard ignored SCOTUS ruling, declaring DEI enrollment initiatives as being illegal. And then I threw in a little, they're insurrecting constitutional crisis, just because that was funny. That was funny to mirror those idiots. But let's see what's actually happening with Harvard. Let's see, are they actually going to stand strong? They lost $2 billion in grants. They're about to lose their beloved 501c3 not-for-profit status. What's happening here? Harvard surrenders. What? University professor Alan Dershowitz reveals the secret deal being struck with Trump, and it'll make his woke colleagues furious. Many in the mainstream media and academia are cheering on Harvard University, as the storied institution has, in the words of the New York Times, decided to fight the Trump administration, break the law and fight the Trump administration. But as Harvard faculty member for more than 60 years, I can tell you that's not quite what's actually happening. Don't tell Harvard's left-wing professors, but the university seems ready to make a deal with President Trump. On Wednesday morning, the president upped the ante after threatening to withdraw the university's tax-exempt status and gut nearly $2.3 billion in federal funding over a list of grievances, including Harvard's failure to address an explosion of anti-Semitic hatred in classrooms and on campus. Quote, everyone knows that Harvard has lost its way, Trump posted on Truth Social. Harvard is a joke, teaches hate and stupidity, and should no longer receive federal funds. You may have expected Harvard's president, Alan Garber, a man I know and admire, this is Alan Dershowitz talking now, to be defiant in the face of such an onslaught. And while he's putting up a combative front, he seems to be preparing to negotiate a settlement. That's something that legions of far-left academicians and advisors may find abhorrent, but it is reality. While Harvard University is older than the U.S., richer than many countries with its $50 billion endowment, and among the most influential academic institutions in the world, in the history of the world, it depends on federal research grants, tax-deductible contributions from alumni, and tax exemptions on its profits to perform its educational and research functions. Yeah. Indeed, Garber has issued a bellicose response. Bellicose means an angry, warlike type of response to Trump in the form of a letter publicly refusing to compromise the academic independence of the institution, writing, quote, no government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study inquiry they can pursue. That's a sentiment that I largely agree with. Do you, Mr. Dershowitz? Do you? Do you? Because the Supreme Court has weighed in on who they can admit and said, no, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong. So not really sure which part of this, as far as what they should be allowed to teach, I agree with that part of it. The classic liberalism perspectives that I've learned to embrace a little bit more in my older age, as far as not leftism, but classical liberalism, as far as believing in the freedom of teaching things free, unfettered from government dictates. That's something I agree with. I'm mortified by the choices that universities like Harvard has taken. But in principle, I can definitely understand. I can definitely appreciate that. But the rest of this crap that he wrote here, no, it's illegal, and it's also threatening. It's threatening people's lives. Yeah, it's the very least their personal safety, at the very least. Look, and if you want to allow people to go marching all over the place, chanting whatever they want from Mein Kampf or anything else, that's your prerogative. But to sit there pretending that that's a reflective of higher learning is bizarre. I noticed I had an influx here of a whole bunch of people. I'm not sure if just you folks really, really missed me or somebody raided me. I may have missed a raid here. If I was raided, God bless you, whoever dropped the raid on me. But while you're here, if you could hit the like and thumbs up and subscribe, try to fight back against the algorithm, which definitely seems to be tearing viewers away from me, I'd be most obliged. So that's why you got the little thumbs up thing there. Sort of get back into that. So, but at the same time, Harvard has retained lawyers, ballot partners, who are close to Trump and his administration, have a history of arranging complex agreements. Garber's missive is clearly intended to placate Harvard's large left, meaning the letter that he sent there, that's designed to put up a public front of, oh, we're standing up to Trump. We're the good guys. We're fighting up against evil, bad man, orange man. We're fighting. We're so noble. Send us more money so we can nobly fight against the evil fascist Hitler, Trump. Adolf, we're going to fight against Adolf Trump. We're fighting against him. Send us money. But in the back room, they're like, what do you want, Mr. Trump? What can we do, Mr. Trump? We'd love to help you, Mr. Trump. Please don't do all these mean things you say you're going to do to us. Defending the independence of the university from any governmental interference, especially from Trump administration, was required for any university president to survive. Witness what happened when Columbia University's temporary president, Dr. Katrina Armstrong, appeared to capitulate to White House demands last month and, among other reforms, appoint a new official to oversee departments that offer biased courses on the Middle East. And I've talked about this with you in the past. For the last 50 years, ever since the OPEC oil crisis in the 70s, this is something my father taught me. He's got a doctorate in medieval Christian-Muslim relations. He speaks Arabic. He knows this stuff in the history here very well. He said after in the 70s, when the Persian Gulf and Saudi Arabia and Iran and Iraq all basically worked together to start jacking prices up and cause a massive oil crisis, and that we faced primarily under the Carter administration. The countries in the Middle East started becoming very, very much wealthier than they had been in the decades leading up to that period. And what they actually started doing was making significant endowments to prestigious American universities on the condition that they would start teaching Middle Eastern studies with a strong pro-Palestinian, pro-Muslim perspective, and that they would basically create new departments which had never existed before in any of these Ivy League schools. And for the last 50 years, and that the chairs of those particular departments would be selected by these countries which were making the endowments, so that basically they could create curricula which were as slanted as possible in a very pro-Muslim, anti-Israel type of perspective. And that's been going on for the last 50 years. So it's not at all surprising that universities are filled with young minds who have basically been led to believe that, Israel is here to destroy the world. So none of this is new or surprising. If you actually know the history as to how these universities have been geared, how they've been hardwired by basically financial puppet strings that have been coming from the Middle East to motivate them to basically start fostering this pro-Muslim culture. And that's why we've seen that bear fruit time and again. in particular in the 90s, when you had the first Gulf War. You saw them. They were the first ones to be screaming against all of the fights that were happening in the early aughts, and all the way through now into 2023, 24, 25, where we see the universities all taking, at least college students, all taking up arms on behalf of any Muslim anywhere in the world, and ignoring how the sentiment of the Middle Eastern philosophy, in particular Islam, is so completely 180 degrees in opposition to everything else that woke culture stands for. Where you have this bizarre scenario where you have people walking around with signs like "Queers for Palestine," trans for Hamas, where it's like if these useful idiots spent 10 seconds in Gaza, they'd literally be thrown from the tallest building that's still standing. I mean, and they're sitting there thinking that Hamas and the Palestinians or the Iraq or Iran are basically these bastions of civilization, of higher culture that should be heralded and lionized as being these wonderful people who we need to stand up for, whereas they literally wouldn't live if they spent 3 days there. They would be dead. But they're so poisoned because that's what these universities have basically been telling them is, oh, if you're a moral person, you're going to stand up for Palestine. And they're so forgiving forget how they trample on basic women's rights and treat women like not second-class citizens, third-class citizens, and forbidding them to drive, the way they have to dress, not depriving them of education, punish brutal punishments if they're deemed to be anything less than a perfectly worthy spouse. I mean, just really what the Western world would call the most barbaric type of perspectives in the world. And it all gets glossed over as being completely, oh, this is totally fine. Let's all stand up for them. It seems so bizarre. Like, how could they ever embrace it? And that's the answer to the question. It's that these universities have basically been drilling into them what amazing, remarkable people everyone with brown skin who speaks Arabic is, because of the financial pressures. It's over there. Because of the financial pressures that these Middle Eastern countries have been able to put on these American universities by giving them tremendous endowments for the last 50 years or so. Damn near 50 years. So that's how the situation has unfolded the way it has now. That's why you see that difficult to understand perspective of why are all these college kids who are so all about trans rights and women's rights and gay rights and all and every right that the Muslim world would basically spit at and look at you in disgust, and just be standing alongside them with signs like, trans dudes for Hamas. That's how you get that, because these universities have been poisoned. So they look at it, and here's the irony: is these universities, these heralded places of higher learning, hold themselves out as if, oh, we're so enlightened. We want to teach our youth how to appreciate, look at things from both sides. Poppycock. Crap lie. It's an outright 100% lie. They've literally been bought and paid for with massive endowments. Trust me, if you're getting $10 million a year from Iran or 20 million from Saudi Arabia, and you're getting that every year, even if it's just 3 million or $1 million that you're getting every year, all of a sudden, if you're getting that like clockwork, so you've gotten $40 million from them over the last couple of decades, you're going to start saying, oh, this is something we need to start promoting. But they pretend that it's all about higher education and cloak themselves in this bastion of being such enlightened and cultured people, when in reality, they're just bought and paid for shills for every fanatical Muslim leader out there. That's the reality of what our universities are. And then the audacity to go out there and start talking about their nobility. Oh, we're standing up to the evil Trump fascists. You're standing up for your own freaking paycheck. That's what you're doing. You're standing up for your own paycheck and pretending that that somehow makes you freaking noble. It makes you a capitalist. And I have no problem with someone being a capitalist, but it makes you very twisted when you try pretending that your capitalistic tendencies over here are cloaked in some sort of added virtue and nobility that makes you somehow special or beyond reproach from typical American society because, oh, we're so enlightened, we're so cultured here. You're just a scam artist. That's what you are. You're freaking scam artists. And I'm tired of them just getting this passed. It's that there's still people, a handful of people at least, and probably in the tens of millions who think that these universities are someplace that's a bastion of nobility, when literally they're propaganda. They're paid propagandists. But I digress. Anyway, so going back to what happened with when Columbia University's temporary president, Katrina Armstrong, appeared to capitulate, she was unceremoniously pressured to resign for the sin of capitulating to Trump. She should have just said, hey, I'm a capitalist like everyone else in this university is. For all the Garber's maneuvering, he surely realizes that he's unlikely to emerge victorious from a long, drawn-out courtroom confrontation with Trump. He also must know that Trump administration would benefit politically from a courtroom fight with Harvard, regardless of the legal outcome, which is anything but certain. So instead, Harvard has sent a more subtle message to the Trump administration by retaining lawyers that he can work with. It's a subtle way of saying, we hired these guys because we know that they're notorious, that they have a long reputation, that they actually cut deals with you. So that's why we hired these same lawyers who cut deals with you in the past to be the ones to cut deals between Trump administration and Harvard. This is a very astute point that Alan Dershowitz is making. And I want to credit him with this because this is something that would go unnoticed by most of the American public, myself included, if he hadn't pointed it out. This is a very important point because there's the law, there's messaging, that's public messaging, and then there's subtle messaging, which is designed to almost be a sign to the Trump administration we're willing to capitulate without ever putting that face out to the public. This is the politics of how you handle the situation. And it is smart politicking by Harvard because this guy, Alan Garber, doesn't want to get, royally beheaded the way the Columbia University president was. So he makes this public face. This is a very astute point by Alan Dershowitz. Well done, Dersh. To say that by picking these particular lawyers, it is sending a message that does not get missed by your adversary. You're like, they didn't happen to get those lawyers. They probably asked for the very persons who were assigned to negotiate with Trump in the past. When they went to that firm, they almost certainly said, we want those very same lawyers because they're going to call up the same people and they'll be like, hey, yeah, we just finished wrapping up on our deal that you have with Columbia. Yeah, we were just retained by Harvard. So what can we work out here with you on this situation? Because that's how things work in real life. In real life, you can have the arguments you're going to make on the law and all these different positions you're going to take, but there's people behind the law. There are faces and voices that start to learn and know each other. And even if they're working adversarially, they still get to know each other. They know each other by their first names. They know each other's tics. They know how they operate with each other. They know what buttons to push. They learn to understand when the other side is serious on what they can give and when they're really just putting a bit of a front. So when you're a large university that can hire any law firm, I mean, come on, they're worth $50 billion. They can hire anyone. They specifically pick these lawyers. That's a message that they're telling the Trump administration that we're going to be working. We're going to be willing to work with you. And it's an intentional message. It's a wise move by Harvard. You have to give credit to the devil where it's due. It's a shrewd move. Perhaps the Trump administration has been overbroad demands to audit the views of students and staff, exert more influence over course material, and slash funds from legitimate research projects. But these are complex and nuanced issues. But for many academics, that choice is simple. Whatever side Trump is on is wrong. Because they're just going to be like, oh, we don't care. Whatever Trump says, we disagree with. Well, reforming our corrupted academic elitist class and fighting anti-Semitic bigotry is not wrong. That's why I support a negotiated compromise. In fact, it's essential. And I think he's right on that. The truth is that many of the government's demands are quite reasonable and necessary. Harvard does have a serious lack of intellectual, ideological, and political diversity. It's largely a left-wing institution where many points of view are effectively muzzled, largely by self-censorship and peer pressure. Meaning, if you come in and work in Harvard and you're holding right-wing views, you also learn to hold your tongue. Because if you don't, you're not going to get tenure. You're not going to be there very long. So you learn to hold your tongue so that the only messaging that comes out is left-wing propaganda. To give one very personal illustration, for 50 years, I was among the most popular faculty members teaching and lecturing to over 10,000 students. But since October 7, 2023, when Hamas perpetrated the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust, I have never once been invited to present my centrist pro-Israel position on campus. Even before that, the one time I was invited by a student group, my talk had to be moved off campus for fear of my safety. That's how dangerous it is in Harvard. That Alan Dershowitz would be imperiled if he went to speak there about Israel. Dozens of students have communicated with me in recent years about how they feel silenced. These include not only Jewish and Zionist students, but also Christian and conservative students. The same is true for some faculty members. That is a very unhealthy culture that has been fostered by Harvard. And clearly they must be aware of it. It's not like they're clueless about it. Harvard's culture is infected by a deeply rooted cultural bias that even President Trump cannot quickly cure. This is largely attributable to Harvard's tenured faculty, whose rehabilitation is nearly impossible and utterly impractical because these professors, whose jobs are contractually protected, are essentially accountable to no one. That academic freedom, while justified in many ways, has been abused for decades. The oppressive campus culture is also due to programs and departments that are inherently ideological. That's what I was talking about 10 minutes ago. These include women's studies, gay studies, black students, and yes, Jewish study departments. These divisions, the similar ones, tend to be more ideological than academic. In addition, there are racial, ethnic, and gender offices such as diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI. These entrenched bureaucracies have undue influence. All right, I don't want to get through the rest. No, we're about to wrap up here. Fine. Harvard has already settled 2 lawsuits brought by several Jewish students and organizations alleging anti-Semitism on campus. And without admitting any wrongdoing, the university has pledged to do more to confront the biases that result in de facto discrimination against certain students and faculty. A negotiated settlement between Harvard and Trump administration may be another step to a reform, but it cannot be the last. And it also cannot be something that's public. They won't do that publicly. Until they actually have something that's, hard, that's worked out, that they can claim some sort of victory on. Finally, for those who claim that the defense of university's autonomy and academic freedom is ideologically neutral, it's important to remember the 1950s, when I was a college student. In those bad old days, many recalcitrant Southern universities have been forced by the federal government to integrate their student bodies, yet the schools were still tolerating the harassment of African-American students and teaching racist curricula. Had the federal government threatened to withhold funding from such racist universities unless there were changes, many liberals, civil libertarians, and advocates of academic freedom would have applauded. Now that the shoe's on the other foot, many progressive academics are taking exactly the opposite position they would have taken in the 50s. For them, it's about politics, not principles. For me, it's about principles, consistency, and neutrality. All right. So, but what I want to get at, from what I want to point out to you is Harvard is essentially caving. They're in the process of caving. And I think that this only goes to show that the idea I suggested for how to remedy the economic educational crisis that millions of Zoomers are walking into when they sign up for these classes, and it costs $50,000, $60,000, $75,000 a year to attend undergraduate school, and incurring such heaping amounts of debt, just drowning themselves. It's like they hold their nose and just like dive down to the bottom of the economic ocean and say, I'm going to start my life off with this massive amount of debt so I can have the privilege of hanging a stupid purple red diploma on the wall, with a white diploma with a little red trimming that says Harvard on it. I mean, the ridiculous levels of what these universities charge. And what I recommended was this. It's really simple. If you want to save the next generation from incurring insane levels of debt for insanely overpriced tuitions, the answer is simple. All Trump needs to do is say, if you cannot cap your tuition fees at a rate that is similar to your local city or state university tuition prices, which are a tiny fraction of what these private institutions charge. So you look in New York, you say to Columbia University, you need to match CUNY, City University of New York, and their rates for what they charge. Or you need to come within 10% of what they're charging per credit, where they're charging something like $200, $250 a credit in comparison to Columbia charging $2,000 a credit. And you say, you need to come within 10% of that, of their baseline, because they're showing you what it takes to survive. And if you don't, you're not a not-for-profit. You're operating for profit. These city universities are showing that in this location, this is how much you need to charge per credit to survive. And if you're charging more than that, you're not an institute of higher education that's trying to survive and provide the public with this charitable, beneficial to society education. You are a for-profit institution. You're literally taking these students and bending them over because you can, because there are federal grants, which are federal loans that they can get their hands on. And the more those federal loans get jacked up, the higher tuition gets jacked up at insane rates. Well, we have to stop with the whole high level of funding and say we're not giving those loans anymore. And we're only going to be giving something that relates to that 10%, that local university spending amount. That's all we're going to give. And we're going to tell all these universities, that's all you can charge if you want to keep your not-for-profit status. Now, you can charge whatever you want. I'm still a capitalist. I'm 100% a capitalist. I believe that capitalism is the healthiest way for a society to function. And I believe that private enterprise should have the opportunity to choose how it is that they want to grow and survive. But if you're claiming that you want not-for-profit status, then you have to operate as a not-for-profit entity, not charging 10 times what you need to be charging in order to survive. If you're charging such high rates, you are now a for-profit institution. So what you tell these universities across the country is you need to match your local CUNY. In LA, I'm sure they have, California has their prices, and in Iowa, it's probably cheaper. And Tennessee is probably cheaper, and Florida is probably a little bit more expensive. So those local state and city colleges help give a very nice framework for what is viable for survivability. And you might need to give them 10% more, 20% more, but it's got to be tied into that number. That gives us our framework as to what universities really need to charge in order to survive and operate as a not-for-profit. And you'll still get tons of money in your alumni endowments and all these different, they make billions a year, billions from people giving them donations. And if they lose their not-for-profit status, they lose everything. Nobody's donating money if they have to pay taxes on the money that they donated. And these universities understand that they make billions of dollars every single year because they're blessed with that 501c3 status of being not-for-profit. And that when some fat jack who graduated from this university 30 years ago cuts them a check for $5 million, that he knows he's getting a tax write-off for that $5 million. And if they don't have that 501c3 status, and Jack Fatso rich guy sees that he's not going to get his $5 million deduction, he's not making that donation. Or if he does make that donation, instead of it being $5 million, it'll be $50,000. It'll be a tiny fraction of what it was. So they know that they lose everything without that not-for-profit status. So what you say as the Trump administration is, we're cutting how much we're loaning these students. So they're not going to be, so anyone who's going to be paying you is going to have to basically figure out how they're going to be getting it. They have to actually be funding it. And we're forcing you to choose one of two poisons. I'm a capitalist. I'll let you pick your poison. You're either going to not be raping these kids, but with their tuition fees and charging them insane fees, and you're going to be capped at somewhere around what your local city/state university is charging. And that's a reasonable rate that you could survive on. Plus, you'll be able to keep getting all your endowments on a yearly basis. You'll probably get more endowments because you'll be able to say, oh, boo-hoo, please donate more this year because we had to cut our tuition by crazy amounts. So I'm sure you keep getting your freaking endowments. Or charge these kids like you're freaking lunatics. This stupid $75,000 a year. Keep charging them. You charge them $100,000 a year. Charge them $3 million a year. Charge them whatever the hell you want to charge them. But you're not enough for profit. Pick where you're getting pick your pot that you want. And all of these universities will every one of them will slash their tuition overnight. Overnight. There'll be letters going out. Hey, Dear Zoomer, who we recently admitted, we have some exciting news for you that our tuition rates have been slashed from $75,000 a year to $15,000. That's what they'll get. All those letters start going out across the country. Education crisis gone. And you want to know how we know it works? Because look at Harvard caving here. As soon as they see they're losing not-for-profit status, like, oh my God, what the heck are we going to do? No one's going to give us money anymore. Why would anyone give us money anymore? Harvard is proving that the Neerman method, the good Lawgic method for how to fix this education crisis will work. I can promise you it will work. It's just 2 steps. Cut the amount of federal loans and force them to choose if they want to keep that not-for-profit status. It's that simple. I can't write away the wrongs that were committed over the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years by the ridiculous rates that were charged for tuition. But I can fix what's going to happen for the class of 2028, 2029, and what they'll be dealing with. So we finally put a dam in this problem, and we're not continually bleeding out and begging for them, oh, please, government, bail out my loans. That's how we fix this problem. I urge you, push whoever it is you can, your local level, state level. This is the solution. It's the perfect solution to the education crisis. Put them all in the Harvard ringer that Trump just put them in. Listen to me or you lose your not-for-profit status, and watch each and every one of them cave, and all of a sudden the biggest beneficiaries will be you. It will be your students. It'll be your kids who are going to college, your grandkids who are going to college, your little kid who wants to go to college 10 years from now, and you have no idea how the hell you're going to possibly pay for that. You're the biggest beneficiaries. America gets saved. And these fat cats, Ivy League, ridiculous endowments plus ridiculous tuitions comes to a grinding halt, where they actually can't live like kings anymore. They're living like freaking, like some UAE princes. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's how we fix this problem. Woo! One crisis solved. One crisis solved. That's what I have to say about Harvard. I didn't expect to take that long on it, but Sniffer and Chief. Sorry, little guy, for 1 month. Look at that. Nice. I'm going to hit the bell for you on that one. 33 months. Lowest evidence. I attended Harvard 20 years ago, and even then they were clearly collecting billions of tuition from foreign students, whole cohorts of wealthy non-American students. Yep. There are 300,000 Chinese students in our colleges. Why? No one knows. If 1% of spots has 3,000 students stealing. Yep. Stealing research. Barbarism is all about the West according to Islam. That's what they think, yeah. Isaiah 5:20, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who turn darkness into light and light to darkness, replace bitter with sweet and sweet with bitter. Let's go. I don't like to pick. I don't. Was that a typo? Oh my God. Oh my God. That is either I think that might, I don't know if that was I don't know. That was really funny. That's pretty funny. I think it's the funniest thing you sent to me in a year. That was really good. That's like, I'm going after everyone. You stayed true to your word. You're like, yeah, let's get everyone in the Middle East. I don't care what race they are, what religion they are. We're getting everyone with this one. Isaiah 5:21, woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. The Middle East got wealthy after they saw the infrastructure built by U.S. oil companies, not from the embargo. Great Logic missed on that one. Graduation caps are called mortarboards. Masons use mortarboards to lay cement on them to build. Is that really why? You're saying, is this a Freemason thing? Is that where we're going here? Isaiah 5:22, woe to those who are heroes in drinking wine and champions in mixing strong drink. 23, who acquit the guilty for a bribe and deprive the innocents of justice. Look at you getting all biblical on us. Harvard, what if we toss some good logic? See how skinny I've been getting? You see that? You see? Yeah? See that? Harvard should be free to discriminate however it likes, just not with my money. Yeah, I totally agree. I don't know why it is that we're sending any money to these universities. They are so much richer than anyone else. Spirits on Joe local universities are the best. As an engineer, what I study, math, physics, chemistry hasn't changed since Newton. Locals is great. Yes, check out Locals, goodlogic.locals.com. Check it out, indeed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The tuitions will fall when we stop importing 50 million fraudulent student visas every year. You think? You think? Remember, for 34 months, sorry, Sniffer, I got you by month. Who's got me beat? Nice. Nice. I'll give you the bell also for that. All right. Let's see how we're doing on our... I offered to that if we hit it.
Este white boy dice que es un...
I'm not seeing...
Este white boy dice que es un...
I'm not seeing... I'm trying to see... Oh my God. I never put that goal up? I suck. I could have sworn... I definitely put this goal up. I definitely hit enter on it. This is what I put. I said that if I got 15 yellow or higher super chats in 2 hours, I was going to make my Snow White review public on YouTube. I'm going to upload it here. I had to have gotten at least 10 by now. I'm going to just give you credit as I've got 10. So I'm just going to make it 5 more. We'll do that. That's what I do. All right. I haven't checked over here in the jungle in a minute. So let me see what they're talking about here. Uzelian gifting 5 Good Logic memberships. God bless you, Uzelian. Good Logic memberships on Rumble. That's right, on Rumble. There's such a thing there. Hands One Pack says the nonprofit status not because they are concerned about income tax. They can always offset profits with cost and investments. They're concerned they will have to pay property tax and sales. They have to pay so much in taxes. It'll crush them. Duck Fat gifting a membership as well. We'll raise a horn for that. Let me do a quick check. Joe does not treat Lady Logic like second-class citizen. He promotes her right to drive him around. He's pro-women's rights. She didn't drive nothing yesterday. Well, she drove the other car together with my son. They alternated. It's nice to see the left reduced to sending angry letters like Harvard. Welcome, the left to standard republic sending angry letters. It's true. Also, Hand says, maybe Harvard should not have taken government money that comes with strings. Be more like Hillsdale, and you can tell the president to F off. President said, Joe, we need to start removing university accreditation for taking money from a nation that assists in terrorist activities, i.e. Qatar and China. That's interesting. What the hell, you started on time? Never expected this. It happens. I was close to being on time. Uzan says, not as bad as the kid who stabbed the white kid whose parents said they couldn't use the GoFundMe for a bail, then bought $900,000 home in gated community and a new car. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And Liz, new member Liz, welcome aboard. Now becoming official member of the following, which is not at all a cult. Go is up, but it wasn't counting, then gone. Is that what happened? I didn't think I missed it. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was right on my guess, about 10. All right. Where are we at? Let's go forward. Let's get into Letitia James. We got a lot to talk about.
Presenting.
Go Letitia. Go Letitia. It's your birthday.
Presenting our respective states. Stand up and enforce the rule of law. The president of these United States is not above the law. No matter how.
I call this story delititious irony. No one is above the law. No one. No one. Oh my God, this lunatic.
Rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the.
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The Angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms.
Oh, no.
He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type
of loan. That's right. That's right. That's right. Oh my God. Of all the crimes that she could have committed, of all the crimes, look, you would have expected if Trump was going after her, because, you know, he's just looking to go after her, he'd go into her, you know, you dig around into any federal election law. You dig around into what she's doing with her campaign finances. You probably can find plenty of skeletons there, because they say that no one actually follows that law properly. If you're looking to harass a politician, that's what you do. Could there be anything sweeter on earth? I want you to just understand this, okay? Trump was civilly sued by Letitia James, and this is the case that was in front of Judge Engoron, who was bizarre in so many rulings that he made. So many rulings. Because what Trump's defense, his primary defense, you may have forgotten, because it's been a minute since we covered the civil trial. He was charged with a violation of New York Executive Law 63, which is falsifying business records. Now, these were for loans that he made with various banks. I think one of them was Deutsche Bank and another bank, for loans he paid back. Everyone made their money back. And they said that when you filled out what your equity was, you lied on the information you gave there. You were inaccurate in the information you gave there. Trump defended by saying, first and foremost, that he attached to the top of those documents a what he calls is a waiver or some sort of get out of jail free card. What he actually signed was a document which says that you are obliged to do your own due diligence to verify all the information here. This is something that every commercial lender accepts, understands, and they recognize that whoever is filling out these forms and giving information is likely to be exaggerating somewhat, and that they have to do their own due diligence to look into it. So she said that now you completed this fraudulent information for the purpose of getting a better rate on these mortgages that you were taking out. You lied about how many floors were in this building. You lied about how many units were built up on some property in Scotland and some golf courses he had there. And Trump, when he went back and he said, you can't sue me for this because there's this due diligence letter which says I'm not responsible. You need to do your own due diligence. So that covers me. Judge Engoron came up with an intriguing response as to how he still could be sued. And what he said was, the reason you could be sued is if you put that information in there and you alone have access to certain information, that there's no way that the lender could possibly have that access. So now when you say go do your own due diligence, that is not a valid disclaimer to exonerate you. They can only do due diligence about information that they are able to access, but something that you alone have personal information about, that does not exonerate you. You're still liable. Now, that theory actually does have some legal logic behind it, but his application of that at trial made no sense at all. Because if in fact that's what he could be held liable for, the only information that he should have been found liable for is information that there's no way a bank could access. And that's the only information that ever should have been presented in front of the trier of fact. Now, the trier of fact in this particular case was Judge Engoron himself, which sounds sick and twisted. Unfortunately, that's not a weird situation where the judge ends up sitting as both the trier of fact and the trier of law. In essence, he's wearing two different hats. That happens all the time in New York, and I'm sure in many other jurisdictions as well. So none of that is surprising. But what is insane is the type of testimony which should have been admissible should only have been testimony about information that Trump alone had access to. Because the information that Trump alone did not have access to, that anyone could have spent 5 seconds on Google and researched it, that's not fraud. That gets disclaimed by his due diligence letter. So the due diligence letter should have protected him from that type of disinformation that he's purportedly going to be held liable for. What was he found liable for? Oh, you lied about how many floors were in this building. It's an active building, which there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people using. It's 40 Wall Street. I had an office in that building for 10 minutes for a month and a half. They're literally, during COVID, everyone who went into that building, I wasn't working there then. Anyone and touched the same buttons over and over again. I'm sure they spread COVID through like 500,000 people in that one building alone. That's how active that building is. But somehow the bank has no way of figuring out how many floors are in the building. I don't know. You just look in the elevator, like, okay, let's count one. It says 42 here. You can see how many floors are there. So if he says there's 60 floors there, and you see all the numbers only go up to 42, I think you can figure out that I don't think this is actually 60 floors built up, and there must be some other way of calculating it. Now, even to that, Trump said, I was counting airspace, because in New York City, as it happens, airspace is actually something that is actually very, very valuable. because you can't create new land in downtown Manhattan or midtown Manhattan. You can't, there's no new land to be bought or purchased. There's no new land there. It's not like this is the great frontier. Every square inch of New York is valuable, even air rights. Air rights is a reference to the fact that one person or entity has the legal right to build up higher floors. In New York, we call those air rights because they're rights to build into the air, that which is not already there, existing there. And whatever level of air rights, and sometimes the air rights are, okay, you can build up to another 6 floors, 10 floors, 15 floors. That doesn't mean it's built up, but there's a value to having that. You can actually sell air rights. The air rights alone have value because someone else who might say, hey, you know what? I'd love to build up and be able to rent out space there. So a lot of people, so they actually has in New York City a great deal of value, air rights, but they basically said, oh, because you said there's existing this number of floors and there's no way a bank could have possibly figured out how many floors are in the building, we're going to hold you liable for that. There's no way that Deutsche Bank could figure out how many units are built up on some Scottish golf course. They can't fly a helicopter over and figure that out. No way. How could they possibly figure that out? How could they possibly do that? That's the type of information that he was found to have illicitly withheld from the bank and now get hit with a whopping $434 million judgment. That I'm telling you now, I rarely make predictions, but when I make predictions, so far I've been spot on. I made a prediction about the 14th Amendment case that I said SCOTUS is going to knock that thing to hell, and it's not going to be 6-3. It's going to be at least 7-2, probably 8-1. It ended up being 9-0 that I was right about. I predicted that there's no way in hell that jackass Mahmoud Khalil is going to be allowed legally to stay in this country. There's no way that the Trump administration is going to lose that. It didn't even make its way to SCOTUS. I didn't get a chance to actually crow about it because it happened on Friday. And I've been running around like a crazy person trying to rent cars and drive down to Virginia Beach over the last 4 days while celebrating Passover. But I happen to be spot on right about that so far because the Louisiana judge basically said, get the hell out of here. He's gone. Now, it still hasn't been fully processed, and I understand there's stuff still going on in New Jersey, so I'm not going to go touting my feathers on that one just yet. But I'm telling you now on this particular case, so far it's looking really good for the perspective I laid down. I'll tell you right now, I watched oral arguments with you here on this channel, the oral arguments that were being held in the appellate department, and it looked very strongly 3-2 in favor of Trump getting that $400 million judgment overturned. And I certainly don't see how it's going to stand up in the Court of Appeals if, in fact, somehow it survives scrutiny in the First Department Appellate Division of New York. So I'm telling you now, that $400 million judgment, it's not something he's ever going to have to pay. It's gone. And it's going up in smoke. So this stupid Machshefa Letitia James, who basically tried building her whole stinking, stupid, miserable career about the fact that she was going to go get Trump's scalp for his illicit business practices that were enabling him to get a loan at rates that he should not have gotten and cheat the American people. No person harmed. Every dollar of that debt paid off, but trying to hit him with a freaking insane, highest in New York history judgment of $400 million, which she says is for the betterment of New York. And you have people like Kevin O'Leary coming out there saying, this is insane. And all you're doing is chasing businesses out of New York because this is how everyone does business. And everyone's going to be afraid that they're going to be next in line to get hit with some stupid, crazy, whopping multi-$100 million judgment by some lunatic AG who decides to show up here and start prosecuting. So all you're doing is chasing business out there. Well, this was not betterment of New York. This is not betterment of anything other than what you thought was to better your own political career. So that she gets hit on the exact same charges, not simply civilly, but now referral to the DOJ, that she should be criminally investigated to spend up to 30 years in prison for carrying out the exact same wrong that she's alleging that Trump did, which Trump did not do it, but she actually did it. She actually had the audacity to list her own father as her husband in purchasing a piece of property to get a better rate on a mortgage. Now, that one might be beyond the statute of limitations. I don't know that she's going to get caught on that one. But when she buys property in Virginia, I think Norfolk, Virginia, which is right around where I am right now. I'm down here doing research on the down low. when she ends up buying property and listing it as her primary residence while she's the AG in New York, and under New York law, she must reside in New York County, and she has the audacity to try and get a cheaper loan by saying, oh, Norfolk, Virginia is my primary residence. That is outright fraud. Outright fraud. The exact same type of fraud that she claimed against Donald Trump. So I think that this is the most delicious irony imaginable, that this stupid, ridiculous type of crazy way she tried going out to Trump civilly, and she got a judgment which is about to go up in smoke, is about to vanish before her very eyes. That same particular wrong that she lied about with Trump may be the very wrong that ends up sending her fat butt to prison. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What amazing vindication for Donald Trump. Amazing. When he saw that, he must have been laughing his you know what off. He must have been crying with laughter when he saw that. As Betty Johnson points out here, Letitia James facing not one but two massive career-ending criminal accusations: falsely claiming a Virginia home as primary residence, mortgage fraud; living there while serving as New York AG, that's election fraud, and disqualifies her from serving as AG. Her career is in such peril right now. It's amazing, amazing. This is her losing her mind.
My mission is clear. I'm focused.
Are you?
I'm prepared. I'm ready.
Are you?
I've been trained by the best. I went to Howard University.
Did you?
That overturned legal segregation in this country.
Yeah. Who cares? Who cares? Oh my God. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean?
I've been taught.
No big deal. George Bush went to Yale. How brilliant was that mind?
In those classrooms where Thurgood Marshall once taught.
Oh,
I'm not afraid of no president.
Yeah, you don't be afraid of the president. You should be afraid of the DOJ because you're corrupt.
Donald Trump, we're ready for you. We're coming for you.
Are you?
We're standing up for you. We're fighting on.
It's not nice. She's standing. This is how enlightened she is. She's standing up for Trump. No, that's nice.
We're not going down silent. Victory, my friends, is clear.
No,
it's
is it?
now.
Oh,
and
is
I'm not waiting for.
Oh, get a little Sig Heil there. Get a little Sig Heil.
For years, I'm waiting too until a speaker by the name of Hakeem Jeffries comes to bring us some rest. Come on.
What would that even do? Assuming he ended up somehow getting the House, what would that do?
Ladies, it's up to us. We saved this democracy before.
When? When was that?
We'll save it now. Let's
go. Tish James. Tish James. As Jonathan Turley writes, I'm not going to go through his whole article here. Allegations against James run from the demonstrably false to the downright bizarre. In securing a loan for a home in Norfolk, Virginia, James is accused of claiming through her representative that the property would be her principal residence. As the referral notes, primary residences receive more advantageous rates. However, as the sitting New York AG of New York, James is required by law to have a primary residence in the state of New York. Notably, the Justice Department has prosecuted those who have committed this common fraud. It's not the first time. For example, in 2017, it charged a man in Puerto Rico with false statements on a reverse mortgage loan application in which he falsely claimed the property as his principal residence. It emphasized that mortgage lenders provide capital so people can purchase homes, not enrich themselves illegally. There are other such cases under 18 U.S.C. 1014 and related laws. James could claim those representations were made by a third party acting on her behalf. However, that's precisely the argument that she repeatedly rejected in the Trump case, insisting that he was legally obligated to review all filings made in his name or that of his companies. James is also accused of misrepresenting a 5-unit property in Brooklyn as a 4-unit property to receive better interest rate and to receive mortgage assistance through the Home Affordable Modification Program. The referral also includes a claim that James filed papers that listed herself and her father as a married couple. Herself and her father as a married couple. The referral notes that just last year, Baltimore State Attorney Marilyn Mosby was convicted by the Biden administration of filing a false mortgage application. Another case resulted in a guilty plea last week for fraudulent filings in a home loan. The timing for James could not be worse. The Trump civil case has languished on appeal for months with a long overdue opinion. That could be coming any day. Although I will tell you this, Court of Appeals is notorious for taking its sweet time. I waited on one case a year and a half for the appellate division to weigh in with the decision. This oral argument was like they're supposed to do it within 60 days. But no one's calling to complain, because the last thing you want to do is be the attorney who's complaining that they're taking too long, because then the next thing you know, you get a very short opinion which says you lose. I don't know if that actually would happen, but that's the fear every New York lawyer I've spoken to seems to have, and it seems like it's a reasonable fear to have. Would you want to be a lawyer who's like, hey, where's my decision? Give me the win already. No, that's not considered clever advocacy. That's not considered clever advocacy. So what we do is we sit patiently. Maybe if you're really antsy, you call the clerk and you say, any idea when that might be coming? How far down the list is it? The appellate argument, don't tell them I called. Please don't tell them I called. Just curious, did they remember this case? Did they forget it exists? The appellate argument did not go well for James in the case that resulted in a grotesque $500 million fine in a case which no one lost a dime. And that's one of the things that if you watch the oral argument with me, you saw the judges in the first department were like, has anyone ever been prosecuted for a loan that was repaid in full? Ever? Has anyone ever faced such a massive judgment before? Ever in New York history? Ever? No. James accused Trump of inflating property value in filings, a common practice in real estate field. It did not matter if the company warned banks to do their own evaluations. It didn't matter that bank officials testified that they made money on the deal. Indeed, the victim wanted more business from Trump. None of that matters. James only demanded an even greater fine, but wanted a foreclosure on Trump properties after Trump was told to secure a ridiculous $455 million bond to simply secure appellate review. Throughout the case, James repeated her mantra that there be no exceptions for the rich and powerful. She insisted that accuracy on such financial records is essential and must be rigorously enforced. Many of us objected that James was selectively targeting Trump after she ran for office on the pledge to nail him in some unspecified offense. She insisted this was not lawfare. She would prosecute anyone guilty of false or misleading statements on financial filings. She is now allegedly that person. It's not clear what her defense will be. However, she may cite the Supreme Court's recent decisions in Thompson v. United States, which ruled in March that 18 U.S.C. 1014 does not criminalize statements that are merely misleading but are not false. The problem is, if proven these statements are not misleading, they're false. Either this was James' principal residence or it was not. Either this was a 4-unit property or it was not. The allegation is that these statements coincide with loan conditions that would give James a financial advantage. James has one likely advantage. She's unlikely to be prosecuted by New York prosecutors using their ridiculous law weaponized against Trump. And they'll be fired because it's federal. It's federal. Pam Bondi's going to do it. She emphasized, and frankly, Pam Bondi should go after her in Virginia for the Virginia fraud, not in New York. You don't want a New York jury. I want to see these indictments drop in Virginia. Right here. Right here. Right here where I am right now. That's where it should be. You don't want to get a jury from New York. You want a federal jury from Virginia to try for the fraud that she committed in Virginia, where she claimed that there's going to be a primary residence. She emphasized that Trump did not have to produce a single penny of loss for the victim to be hit with $500 million in fines. But that was Trump, and this is New York. There'll be no mob or media frenzy demanding charges. There will certainly be no James explaining how such prosecutions are essential because no matter how big, rich, or powerful you think you are, no one is above the law. I can't wait to watch this story unfold. Can't wait for it. Can't wait for it. How sweet it is. Brian Oldenkamp hitting me with 20 new members to the following. Who did you bring to us? Brian. Am I able to find it? Am I going to be able to find it? I don't know if I'll find it still. I'm not sure who. Potential criminal. He dropped the rate on me. God bless you, potentially criminal. Thank you so very, very much. Welcome to all you potentially criminal folk. Welcome indeed. Let's see something. I'm confused. No, that happened. I'm not going to be able to find those people. I'm sorry. For those of you who were gifted courtesy of Brian Oldenkamp, I would be much obliged if you can extend your gratitude to him for that very generous gift that he gave you, where you brought into the following, which, as I said, is not at all a cult type of cult. It's just a community of like-minded individuals who are concerned with greater personal growth. I urge you, if you're not yet a member of the following, to consider the value of personal growth. Every day, we should be struggling to make ourselves into better human beings. That's what we encourage here. That's what the following is bringing you, an opportunity to join in with a community of like-minded people who it's just about greater personal growth through community, unity, learning, and thinking. It's not at all, everyone hears the following, they think, oh, this is some crazy cult. No, it's not. It's just about community, unity, learning, and thinking. Because some people, they'll just learn and they don't think about what. No, we want you to critically analyze. It's community, unity, learning, and thinking. Say it with me. Community, unity, learning, and thinking. Not at all a cult type of cult. It's just like-minded individuals who are seeking greater personal growth. And if someone says, oh, wow, that sounds really, I don't know, that sounds kind of, just point out, there's no spaceships, no tracksuits that are mandatory, no Kool-Aid, no dancing around bonfires while shucking off your clothing to the beat of a tom-tom in the middle of a forest, no throwing virgins into volcanoes, no goat sacrifices, no squirrel mutilations. It's not at all a cult type of cult. And even if it was, I'm not the leader of the following. Say it with me. Joe is not. Joe is not the leader of the following. I'm just a host. Welcome, those of you. And thank you again, Brian, for that very generous gift. See, this is making society a better place. Smash that like, share it, subscribe, everyone. God bless you. Thank you. They should do her like she did Trump. If she made 24 mortgage payments, that's 24 counts of fraud. Hit her so hard. Oh my God. Wait, a black female government official with triple-digit BMI and suffering from severe TDS is finding herself in federal criminal jeopardy? How, God, how? It's a new day, ain't it true? It's a new day. Darkborn. The future say, beware the ass you kick today, for it may be the one you have to kiss tomorrow. Letitia is fixing to be reminded of that. Indeed she is. Indeed she is. Just retarded Florida, like a good Jewish man. Florida's too hot. It's too hot in the summer. SoCal is listening. Bring it. Welcome, SoCal. Thank you so much. Letitia probably thought she'd be Kamala's AG. Maybe that's why she brought the primary home in Virginia. Are you saying so close to DC? I don't know. Could be. Joe wearing blackface and Letitia wig would get him 200,000 followers. You slay me, Andrew. You kill me. That's a look I'm thinking about. I've thought about it. I'll tell you this. No, I won't even do that. If she gets thrown in the slammer, I will celebrate by dressing up like Letitia James. That's what I'll do. I don't know if we'll do the blackface. I'm not saying the black. I don't know if we'll do that, but I will. If I have 200,000 followers when she gets convicted, I'll celebrate by dressing up like Letitia. It'll be very clear it's Letitia. You'll know. You'll know. How about those ladies taking up space? Take up your space, ladies. You in Virginia? I'm in Virginia, but I'm in the tip, just the tip. Oh, well, there you go. I think I'm on the opposite side then because I'm on the beach. So, Rizalian says a group of 5 Jewish women are eating lunch in a busy cafe. Nervously, the waiter approaches the table. Ladies, he says, is anything okay? I heard that one before. I heard that one before. I know I've heard that one before. And DB63 says, I'm behind, but if universities want and are independent government, then no taxpayer money for you. Amen. Amen, DB63. Spot on. He's right. He's right. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Why would they gain our money? If something is causing autism in people at age 2, we should be able to duplicate it in Letitia. You're assuming it hasn't happened. You're assuming it hasn't happened. Woohoo! CC Reagan, member for 8 months. Welcome, my brother. Welcome to the strong. He's nearing. He's 2/3 of a year. Well done. Well done indeed. What else we got for you? I got a little side story before I get into my last main topic here. The last main topic is going to be about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. But I got a side story or two I want to cover with you real quick here. The first one is this. You know how they keep saying how Trump voters are feeling regret? They're not excited about what he's been doing. So many Trump voters are all disappointed. Maybe not so much. Maybe not so much. CNN report.
Let's talk.
Favorite Harry Enton. Now, I haven't watched this clip yet. But I've seen this shtick before. I don't know if Harry Enton has blackmail photos of the hosts of CNN, or this is just some stupid shtick type of thing. Okay, but Harry Enton here. That's the guy on the right. That's the guy all the way on the right over there. That's Harry Enton. He's the guy who loves coming to CNN viewers with poll numbers. Look at these poll numbers. Whoever stands on the other side over here, where right now you got the Mamzer Berman standing over there. So their role is to act like a puppet. So they have their lines fed to them as to what question they should ask, which is purely, they are a prop. They don't have any brain. There's no thought. But they have a question which is designed to set up the very next cue card that Harry Enton has. But what would people say in this scenario? How does that compare to this? I'm so glad you asked that. Look at this next poll card that I'm showing you here. This is performative news. So I haven't seen it yet. I've just seen Harry Enton standing and talking to someone else to know that whoever he's talking to is a doofus who's supposed to sit there asking the next setup question for your next cue card and saying, wow, that's really surprising. I wouldn't have thought that. That's interesting. Thank you so much. So here we go. That's the role. I think I think it's John Berman is his name. I don't remember his first name, but I know his name is Berman because I did a whole thing on him once. Is it Mike Berman? I don't know.
Let's talk about Trump voters and how they feel. Do they regret their vote? I mean,
I have no idea what you're going to tell me, but do they regret their vote?
this is the big question, right? I hear all these stories.
I stand back and let Harry talk before he presents his cue card here. It's performative news. They're such a joke, CNN.
All these articles.
Chief data analyst. That means he's the one who stands in front of the cue card that they give him.
All the Trump voters, they regret what they did back in 2024. I'm here to tell you, very few of them regret what they did back in 2024. What are we talking about? Trump voters looking back at 2024. We got a new poll out. The poll was conducted this month. What percentage would change their vote to a different candidate? We're talking just 2%, just 2%. That's not even a wide spot on the road. And then there's this additional 1% who say they would rather not vote. We're talking overall under 5% might or would have changed their vote. Donald Trump voters back in 2024.
Meaning we still love him. Quite the contrary. We kind of really, really like him, like the work he's been doing. Usually the luster wears off pretty fast, especially when a guy's as active as Donald Trump has been in his first 87 days. Usually people have a lot of outrage, but that's not what's happening. We told you there's lots of outrage, but we've been lying to you when we told you people are really upset with their vote, really regretting their vote.
And then you ask, okay, the same question to Kamala Harris voters, and it turns out the numbers are rather similar. So if there was a repeat, if folks got to be able to redo their vote,
she'd still get crushed yet again. Yet again. After people get a taste of Trump, they really like it.
They had back in 2024, would the result be any different? I doubt it would be. I doubt it would be, or it would still be extremely close. The bottom line is, for all this talk of Trump voters regretting their vote, in the numbers, it really just doesn't show.
Okay, now the camera's panning over for Berman to ask him the question that sets up the next card. So I would be asking all sorts of questions about this. Like, okay, so what are the Kamala numbers? That's one question I would have. I would be like, why are we so what issue seems to be bothering them? You know, they seem to like most about him. The ones who complained, what were they complaining about? What were they bothered by? Why did people switch away from Kamala? But let's see what question is next on his card. We'll see what Berman's setting up his next card here.
So the stickiness with Trump voters and President Trump in this presidency, how does it compare to his first presidency?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that question because otherwise my next card would make no sense at all.
Okay, so, I was interested in sort of a historical analogy here, sort of, does this look similar or different from back in 2017, looking at 2016? Well, in February of 2017, 4% of Trump voters say they'd shift their vote. That's actually slightly more than the 3% this time around. So, you look back, you say, okay, there's these Trump voters who really regret their vote. Historically speaking, they really don't regret their vote. And if any...
What about Biden? What about compared to Biden? What happened there?
The number this time around is actually smaller than it was the first time around, and it's certainly...
He also talks like as if the audience is a bunch of 5-year-olds. He can't say the audience is smaller. He has to say the audience is smaller. What is happening to our news? This is the most trusted news. The most trusted news. It's smaller. How dumb do they think their audience is? He would really have confused them if he would have been like, it's small. Everyone would be like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening now. I don't know what's happening. I don't understand words. Let's do that again, Harry. That was great. Show us, because otherwise, if you just use words, we wouldn't know.
Historically speaking, they really don't regret their vote. And if anything, the number this time around is actually smaller than it was the first time around. And it's certainly smaller than the number we saw coming out of 2020, of course, after the events of January 6th. So the bottom line is this. If there's some idea out there that Trump voters are going around, man, I wish I had voted for Kamala Harris instead of Donald Trump, the numbers say that is a fanciful universe. It really, for the most part, does not exist.
What about the...
We don't get to see the third cue card setup. I'm so glad you asked that question, John. That's such a joke. How does anyone still watch the news anymore? My God. Fauci is out. We need new test animals since the Beagles are no longer. I nominate Letitia James as tributes. New York will never prosecute her. A jury will never say she's guilty. That's why I want to see her I want the federal government to go after her in Virginia. That's where she committed her crimes, in Virginia. She has property here. Harry makes me laugh because the hosts look like they just crapped their pants. Yeah, they do. They all do. The same day Biden said Trump is destroying Social Security, Doge announced they found 4 million IA receiving benefit, illegal aliens receiving benefits. 2 million added his last month in office. If someone has the clip of Biden today, my wife sent it to me, but she sent it on WhatsApp messages, and it's very hard for me to convert that over, and I didn't have a chance to do it. If we get that in celebration of like how we hit our goals so nicely, I'll throw that into the rotisserie of what I covered tonight. I'm going to check my DMs, or you can throw it in locals. If you have 3 to 5 minute clips of Biden talking that we can laugh at his stupidity and the asinine comments that he's made, I will happily review that with you guys right here. I actually thought about doing that on locals, but you guys have been so active with me tonight that I feel it's incumbent for me to give you a little bit more. I'll throw it in as it's just added bonus content. But I do need someone to send that over to me. So you can send it on X, you can send it on locals, whatever you like. Their audience are Democrats who has to speak to them like children. Apparently, that's definitely true. I got it here. Barb Loves Less says, if you love passion and truth on topics and yelling at the screen, breathe, Joe, breathe. This is the place to be. Thank you. I'll give you the horn for that one. I breathe plenty. Breathe plenty. I'm actually very excited because the whole vape thing, those of you who watch me regularly know that I'm a regular vapor, and I use usually disposable vapes, but those are not kosher for Passover use. And I actually had to, because most juice has alcohol content in it, and we can't have wheat byproducts. So there's actually certain juice that various ortho Jewish companies make, which are geared for Passover that don't have that problem. It's kosher for Passover vape juice. But that meant I need to have a non-disposable vape. So I actually went out and got this today, and I was going nuts. I was really going nuts. I was even supplementing with a cigarette here and there. And now I'm back in my vape and feeling awesome about it. All right. So that was one little side thing I wanted to cover for you all. But I want to talk to you about a woman who's been suffering. We should talk a little bit about this woman who's been suffering. And that woman is Jennifer Vasquez. Jennifer Vasquez, she's a woman. This poor Jennifer Vasquez, she's suffering so terribly without her beloved husband. Her beloved husband is not around. Her beloved husband is a man by the name of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he's been all over, splashed across the news headlines because he's the MS-13 gang member who was sent to El Salvador. The left has been going nuts pretending that this is some sort of kidnapping that the Trump administration has undertaken, saying he's been deprived of his due process and all sorts of lies along that type of direction. Here is Jennifer Vasquez, whose heart is stricken with grief about the loss of her beloved husband.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Congressman Adriano Espaillat, Chair.
I'm going to try and grab a little airtime here with the victim here, and the wife of the victim of our beloved MS-13 gang member, Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
This is someone that has not broken any laws whatsoever.
Being an illegal alien is breaking a law.
Has been legally here in the United States of America and was...
No, not legally here. That's not true either.
In my opinion, kidnapped and sent back to El Salvador to a Salvadorian prison.
Wow.
And so we are concerned and we're demanding that he's brought back to his family.
On March 12th, my husband Kilmar was abducted and...
I'm sorry. I apologize. We need appropriate music for this.
On March 12th, my husband Kilmar was abducted and disappeared by the Trump administration. It's been 28 days since I lost all my husband. Since his children hugged him, since his mother kissed him, since his brother has talked to him. Court ruled that indeed this should have never happened. So-called administration error has destroyed my family's happiness, my children's innocence. Kilmar, if you can hear me, I'm still fighting for you. Your brother, your mother, our children are still fighting for you. We're not going to give up hope.
So there you go. She's not giving up hope. She's not giving up any hope. Such a terribly tragic story. If you're interested in helping the Abrego family. Oh, in that case, you too can help raise aid with so far $204,000 that her tears have helped bring the family, who's just beside themselves at the loss of this gentle giant who's committed no crimes, been denied due process. As we read it, let's read that story, because they have a goal of $220,000, which I can promise you that in 10 minutes, when this crosses 220,000, it's going to be raised to it's going to be raised to 300 and then 400,000. This is what she writes. Kilmar is a loving father, husband, son, brother, union construction co-worker, and CASA member. He's been wrongfully disappeared and deported, torn from his family due to a shocking administrative error by the U.S. government. Not an error. That's what the lawyer said, but the lawyer was a crazy anti-Trump guy. Kilmar is now being held with no contact with his family or lawyers in Sikot, a notorious Salvadoran mega prison known for torture and human rights abuses. Kilmar is an excellent father. He has always been there for our 3 children and all of their needs. 2 of them are on the autism spectrum, ages 5 and 9, and our 3rd has epilepsy. Every kid here is stricken with some sort of weird, terrible, awful condition. And I'm not looking to mock children, that's for sure, but apparently every one of them has some sort of problem. It's a little convenient. Kilmar has been the main provider of our household and the love of my life for over 7 years. The love of her life. That's who he is. He's the love of her life. Since our family has been separated, I have been devastated and confused. I lost my life partner. My children lost their father, and all of our family, neighbors, co-workers, and friends have been devastated due to this unjust family separation. It sounds terrible. It sounds tragic. It sounds horrific. It sounds really, really, really just, there are no words. There's just no words. It sounds awful. So, how can your heart not break for them? How can your heart not break for them? But then you see headlines like this. Wife of Maryland man Abrego Garcia filed domestic violence protective order against him in 2021. And you just say her whole GoFundMe is kind of, I don't know. I'm starting to feel like maybe she's milking this for all the suckers who are going to donate to her. Yeah, that's right. The wife of Kilmar Garcia, a man who was deported from Maryland to his native El Salvador on March 14th, has spoken out publicly to ask that he be returned to the U.S. and their family, which, as of earlier today, the GoFundMe crowdsourcing campaign and has raised over $165,000. What Jennifer Vasquez did not mention, however, is that she petitioned for domestic violence protective order against him in 2021. Whoa, who would have thought a gang member would be abusing his wife? Apparently, she's in such misery since he's gone. You gotta wonder why she would want to kept away. Revealing information about the protective order imposed, and said the wife of deported suspected gang terrorist Kilmar Abrego Garcia. No, it's not suspected. He was found to be that when he was ordered deported in 2019. Either lied to the court when she petitioned for domestic violence protective order against him, or she's lying now in the GoFundMe claiming he's an excellent husband, as over 162,000 is poured in. Now, as you saw, it's at 220 or 204, excuse me. The case detail shows that was brought by Vasquez against Garcia in May 2021 for domestic violence. It's so weird because you wouldn't think that an MS-13 member would be hitting his own wife and children. You wouldn't think that. But you want more details on this, don't you? Don't you? You want to know more about this? I will not stop fighting until I see my husband alive. Is this the same clip?
It's 34 days of after his disappearance, and I stand
waiting for more money
filled with spirit that refuses to bring down.
This is just the classic money pitch. It's just a money pitch. I know you hate Trump, and this is what he did to my evil, abusive husbands. Please send me money.
I will not stop fighting until I see my husband alive. Kilmar, if you can hear me,
And haven't yet killed me.
stay strong. God hasn't forgotten about you.
And neither have all the people who have donated money to my GoFundMe.
Our children are asking, when would you come home?
You're a grifter.
And I pray for the day I tell them the time and date that you'll return.
You're a grifter.
Today is 34 days of after his disappearance.
Classic grifter.
And I stand before you filled with
Classic grifter. That's all she is. When Garcia was arrested, he was found with rolls of cash and drugs. He was arrested with 2 other members of MS-13. 2 judges found that he was a member of MS-13. That finding has not been disturbed. When arrested, he was wearing what is effectively MS-13's uniform. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. There you go. There you go. The gentle giant. The gentle giant. And let's get more. Kilmar Abrego Garcia has a history of violence and was not upstanding Maryland man the media has portrayed him as. This is according to DHS. According to court filings, Garcia's wife saw a domestic violence restraining order against him, claiming he punched, scratched, and ripped off her shirt, among other harm. This MS-13 gang member is not a sympathetic figure, but his wife wants you to think that he is. Let's open this up a little bit. Let's make this a little bigger for y'all. Here's the filing for a temporary protective order filed by Jennifer Vasquez against Kilmar Abrego Garcia, spouse, distinguishing left arm of a kid going upstairs. Court finds that in the laws of Maryland, the issuing court is the jurisdiction of the parties. Court orders that the above-named respondent shall not abuse, threaten to abuse, and or harass the petitioner and others to be protected. Additional terms of the order in this document. There you go. So he got hit with the protective order. Let's go to the next page here. Ooh, this gentle giant. Oh, this gentle giant. There you go. After the appearance petition and consideration of the petition, the evidence court makes the following findings. Jennifer Vasquez, who is a person eligible for relief, is the current spouse of the respondent. Petitioner is the person eligible for relief. There are reasonable grounds to believe the respondent committed the following acts of abuse. On May 1st, 2021, respondent punched and scratched petitioner, ripped off a shirt, grabbed and bruised petitioner. The court can lawfully order respondent to vacate the home immediately and award temporary use and possession of the home. The person eligible for relief. And here is your protective order. That he has to stay away from them. And he has to vacate the home immediately. Custody of their kids is awards Jennifer Vasquez until the final protective order hearing. That's Kilmar Alexander Abrego Vasquez. And there you go. So, yeah. Yeah, I got blocked. Oh, I wasn't blocked. He was blocked. Of course, it's not criminal proceedings. It's no one saying it's a criminal penalty. The point is that she's sitting there saying he's this upstanding citizen who's this innocent giant, and he's acting like an MS-13 gang member, which he was found to be by the court. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But never let the actual wrongdoing of a illegal alien gang member, never let that slow you down. No. Not if you're a politician who wants to grandstand about evil Donald Trump. Let's check out here with Senator Chris Van Hollen. This brain dead loser. Did you ever hear of Senator Chris Van Hollen before? No. You know who knows you never heard of him before? Senator Chris Van Hollen. He knows nobody ever heard of me. Nobody knows who I am. That doesn't help me get reelected. I need to make a splash. So here I am. I'm going to go to El Salvador and start crying about this illegal alien gang member who was deported by the Trump administration and start making a big stink about it in complete violation of Logan law.
I'm here at the airport. I'm about to board my flight for San Salvador. The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration, to let the government of El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting to bring Abrego Garcia home.
His home is El Salvador. He's a resident of El Salvador. His home is not America. Who the hell are you representing? Oh, he's from Maryland, so he's claiming that this is my constituent. Oh, okay.
Until he returns to his family. I hope to meet with representatives of the government. I hope to have the chance to
I hope you get indicted for violating the Logan Act.
actually see Kilmar and see what his condition is. But we are going to keep fighting.
I'm going to take videos here so you all know that I'm actually a senator, because no one knows I'm a senator. So this way my constituents will know I am a senator and that I don't like Trump.
Because this is a miscarriage of justice. The Supreme Court has ruled 9-0.
What did they rule?
9-0.
What did they rule?
That he was illegally taken out of the country and put in a prison.
They ruled that he's entitled to due process. That's what they ruled. That he's entitled to due process. And that Trump should try to facilitate his return, which basically means ask President Bukele whether he's interested in returning him, which El Presidente said, no, why would I return him to your country? I like your country and I don't want to fill it with monsters. That's what the president said. That's the end of this story. That's it. That's the end of this entire story right there. But he has to go make an ass of himself. And here, if you want someone to make an ass of themselves, a Democratic senator is a perfect candidate. So here comes Chris Van Hollen. Come on down. Make an A out of yourself.
In El Salvador. And this is about due process. This is about rule of law. What bullies do is they begin by picking on the most vulnerable. But if we
MS-13 gang members are the most vulnerable, obviously.
get rid of the
What about his beaten wife? Oh, she needs to milk this situation. So
rule of law, due process, the United States, it's a short road from there to tyranny. I'm here at the airport.
no, it's really not a short road from there to tyranny because he's an illegal gang member. I don't know. I guess it's tyranny of all the gang members. Maybe that's what we're dealing with. He's got a follow-up because he wants everyone to know I'm still going to El Salvador. If I'm going to El Salvador, I got to make a bunch of videos about that.
I just landed at the airport in San Salvador a little while ago. I'm now en route into the city. Looking forward to meeting with the team from the American Embassy. And I do want to thank our Foreign Service officers and the whole team at this embassy and embassies around the world for all the good work they do on behalf of our country. I'm proud to co-chair the bipartisan Foreign Service Caucus that stands up for the men and women who are serving our country overseas and at home in the State Department. After that, I hope to meet with some high-level government officials from El Salvador.
I don't think you hope for that.
As I've said before, the goal of my visit is to talk to people here about the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I told his wife and his family I would do everything possible to bring him home.
I would do everything possible to make an ass of myself publicly so that everyone knows I'm a U.S. senator.
And we're going to keep working at this until we're successful. I also hope to have the chance to meet with him, but we'll have a better idea if that works out a little later on.
So if you're the type of person who likes to make an ass out of yourself, you really should run for Congress. You really should run for Congress. Apparently, you know how Letitia James says no man is above the law. Well, Senator Chris Van Hollen seems to think he's above the law, because there is this little act that's referred to as the Logan Act, which says as follows, and he says the United States, wherever he may be, who, without authority of the United States, directly or indirectly, commences or carries on any correspondence or intercourse with any foreign government or any officer or agent thereof, with intent to influence the measures or conduct of any foreign government. Like, get them to release someone to our country who's a citizen, a national of that country. Or any officer or agent thereof in relation to any disputes or controversies with the United States or defeat the measures of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. They shall not abridge right of citizen to apply himself or his agent to any foreign government or the agents thereof for redress of any injury which he may have sustained from such government. Well, I don't think that Chris Van Hollen here sustained an injury. So if Jennifer Vasquez wants to go to El Salvador, she can do that in theory. But Chris Van Hollen, to make his stupid little photo op, I think that's a violation of the Logan Act. Frankly, I think that the chances that Pam Bondi is going to press that issue are somewhere between slim and none. I think there's a long list of people that she should be going after a lot harder than this jackass who's determined to make a complete ass out of himself, trying to bring back an MS-13 member who's been found to be an MS-13 member. If you're unfamiliar with this story, in 2019, he got his due process. And during the course of that hearing, they said, oh, this guy's an MS-13 member. Let's deport him back to El Salvador. And after he had his whole hearing and put forward all his defenses why he shouldn't go back there, he came up with this thing saying, I'm being threatened by the 18th Street Gang. If I go back there to El Salvador, you can't send me there because then I'm going to get killed, which means in theory, we could have deported him to any country on the planet besides El Salvador. So there's still an order for his deportation. Just don't send him to El Salvador. And then the 18th Street Gang was eradicated by President Bukele. So there's nothing to worry about anymore. Now, technically, the order saying don't deport him to El Salvador still is in effect. So to that degree that he was sent to El Salvador without having an order modifying that stay of deportation to El Salvador was erroneous, and that's probably what the Supreme Court said 9-0. He's entitled to his due process. He's entitled to due process as to, in other words, that the court has to find that El Salvadorians are not under threat by 18th Street Gang until that finding of fact is made by a court of law. Even if it's reality, the stay technically remains in effect until there's a finding by the court saying that it's no longer in effect. So under the rule of law, he wasn't supposed to be removed there until such a finding. And I think that's what the Supreme Court was bothered by Trump as far as ignoring due process, because procedurally, you need that finding. But they can pick him up and move him to Guantanamo. They can pick him up and send him to China and send him to Russia. He could use him for negotiations with Russia. Say, hey, Putin, you want to get your rocks off and torturing some bad guy? You make peace with Ukraine, we'll give you this loser. Could do that. Could do that. You can deport him anywhere, just not El Salvador under the existing court orders. So no, this is not a kidnapping. Bunch of clowns. Bunch of clowns. Where am I at here? I'm at 2:14. I'm going to catch up on some messages. I got a few more short stories to cover for you. This got here, where are you? I am in Virginia Beach. That's why you see the strange background. Trump trolling the congressman that went to El Salvador with their report today was fan-freaking-tastic. I'm going to see if someone sent me that Biden thing. Let's see if anyone sent it to me. I'm doing my little check for that. That's not working. I didn't see that. Someone has that troll. I'd like to see that. I would like to see that. Let me see if I can see. No, that's not it. That's not it. I hadn't seen this, but someone shared this with me. Talking about Kilmar, the hero, Kilmar. Definitely not at all an MS-13 gang member, Kilmar. Biden's FBI ordered Tennessee Highway Patrol to release Maryland man recently deported to El Salvador after he was detained in 2022 traffic stop on suspicion of human trafficking. What's this? Tennessee Star learned on Wednesday that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an alleged member of the Central American gang Mara Salvatrucha, MS-13, who was deported to El Salvador under President Donald Trump amid legal action, claimed the removal was by mistake, was suspected of being engaged in human trafficking by a Tennessee Highway Patrol officer who detained him in December 22. Such an upstanding individual. Leading the THP to contact the FBI for guidance. Within 2 hours, the FBI ultimately resisted the THP requested the THP release Garcia and the passengers in his vehicle. THP complied with the request. The Star learned from sources familiar. I don't know, maybe that he was going to a pizza party or something. The Star learned from sources familiar with the incident that Abrego Garcia was stopped for an unknown reason on December 6, 2022, and that the THP officer responsible for the stop immediately discovered Abrego Garcia was transporting 7 passengers with 8 individuals inside the vehicle. During a nearly 2-hour traffic stop, the THP officer determined that Abrego Garcia was operating a vehicle without a valid driver's license, began searching for information about him. One source told the Star that THP ultimately discovered Abrego Garcia was on a terrorist watch list, but could not locate Abrego Garcia on a deportation list. Another source told the Star that THP did not discover Abrego Garcia on a terrorist watch list, but that another one of the 7 passengers in the vehicle may have been on a terrorist watch list. THP subsequently called the FBI, which was then led by former director Christopher Wray. Under the Biden administration, the FBI instructed the THP officers at the scene to capture photographs of all 8 people in the vehicle and document its contents. Once captured, the source told the Star that FBI requested THP release all 8 individuals, and the THP officers complied with this request. Surprise, surprise. THP officer responsible for the stop concerned that Abrego Garcia was engaged in human trafficking, but that Abrego Garcia and his passengers were nonetheless released at the request of the FBI. Such a corrupt organization. I wish someone had that clip for me. Oh, Biden. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Usually someone will get me a clip. But today it didn't happen. Bill Shipley, Shipwreck Crew, has a great article going over Garcia's case plus drama. Not sure if you read it, but it's very thorough. Paywall, though. I haven't seen it, no. But Maybe in future I'll check it out. Thank you, Malcolm. Was she happy when she got the 2 PPO? Yeah. Kilmar no puede huerte porque le soy a las casa de Seco. Kilmar can't hear you because he's in the house of Seco. Nice. Wait, he's a union member? Charge the union. That would be good. May your paycheck vacation be as sweet as the rind of jellied fruit slices. If you know, you know. If you don't, sorry. Have a safe trip home. Thank you, Jip B. Thank you very, very much. She can take a good pee-unch, though, according to Kilmar. I asked Kilmar, what do you tell your wife with 2 black eyes? He told me nothing. I haven't told her nothing. I haven't told her twice. I see what you did there. Just call her MS-13 Barbie. Comes with the TPO. Oh, I haven't heard of Chris Van Hollen. I lived under his idiocy. I hate him before. I hate him even more now. His idiocy knows no bounds. Oh yeah, she lives down in that area. Ooh, free milestone chat. Nice, Malcolm. You know who could sort this case out? Phoenix Wright. There's no end. There's no end to Phoenix Wright. He filed a motion to strike the withholding of removal. That's what he would do. Yeah. Democrats now openly admit illegals are their constituents, but it's great replacement fake news. They travel abroad to protect their illegal immigrants, apparently. Can Boasberg hold Trump's administration criminal contempt as he is ignoring SCOTUS? He's not. He's complying with SCOTUS. SCOTUS said facilitate. You saw him ask him, hey, you want to send them back here? That's facilitating. President Bukele could have said, okay. But instead he said, no, I'm not doing that. So he facilitated. He complied with what SCOTUS said. Voters could issue an EO declaring an 18-string gang no longer a threat in El Salvador. Immigration courts are part of that executive branch. I don't think that works. Show report was the DOJ files with the GFIs. Oh, okay. With the GIPs. Oh, so that's what I shared already. Cool. Barb says, I do wonder how many of the 18th Street gang members are now in that prison where he is now. Karma? Maybe. Matt Reese says, deporting to Ukraine, I hear they need cannon fodder. Nice. I like it. Well done, Matt. They can send them anywhere. You never know where. We can play Where in the World is Kilmar Abrego Garcia? Where in the world is Kilmar Garcia? Oh, that's I need a video of a little Carmen Miranda. What's that? Is that her name? Is it Carmen? It's not Carmen. Whatever. You know the little kid I'm talking about. Is it Carmen Miranda? It might be. Oh, where in the world is Kilmar Garcia? That's what we should be playing. Where in the world is Kilmar Garcia? Oh, someone needs to create that. Where in the world is Kilmar Garcia? I'm so funny. Okay, so where was I? Carmen Miranda. It's Carmen Sandiego, right? That was it. Carmen Miranda's bananas on her head. It's an easy mistake to make. It's a very easy mistake to make. I thought it's Carmen Sandiego, not Carmen Santiago. I think that sounds racist the way you're saying it. It's Carmen Sandiego, not Carmen Santiago. Oh my gosh. Another good. I'm so reluctant to ever leave this story. I'm enjoying this story so much. Because I think he's such a dick, this guy. And they're trying to make it look like Trump did something terrible here. When it's like all he did was just remove this evil prick. Evil prick. Speaking of evil pricks. Speaking of evil pricks, Carmelo Anthony, the guy who wants to rely on self-defense. Yeah, he's such a noble victim of, murdering white people. And I don't care if he murdered white people or black people. He's just a freaking murderer. So whatever the skin color is of who, but since he killed white people, This entitles him now to get all sorts of funding from the useful idiots on the left. Carmelo Anthony renting a $900,000 home in a gated community with family, bought new car after release on bond in Austin. Purchased Cadillac Escalade worth $150,000, began renting a $900,000 home after receiving $500,000 in donations for his defense. This scumball, such a scum. Somebody hates the black community, that they make this guy Gavin Floyd and Planned Parenthood like the ultimate wonders of the black community. Well, what are you teaching your youth? What are you teaching them? No, don't look up to Denzel. Why would you look up Denzel? Let's send all our love over to this clown. And look, I don't think he killed them on purpose. I don't think he's the most evil person. I do think he's a hothead. From everything I've heard more and more about this story, where he went into his bag to pull out a knife and then just went and killed someone. This dude's escalating instead of just walking out of the tent in the rain. So, yeah, I don't think he's a good person. But he killed some white people, and he says self-defense. So now his family is raking in the dough, and they're getting a freaking Escalade. And that's what what's pathetic is that's what he spends the money on. But that's what as soon as they get the money, you can't even hold the money for 10 seconds. We're going to go buy ourselves a stupid, ridiculous luxury car. So stupid. It's like such an embarrassment. Such an embarrassment. Like, I don't care about the skin color of the person he killed. There's no way he would. I only care in the sense that he raked in that money because he killed a white guy. If he killed a black guy, he wouldn't be raking in that money. I think it's pathetic. I think the whole story is it's sad. And I think it's sad for the black community that this is who they raise up to be like their icon. So, couple more quick tidbits I need to cover with you. First and foremost, Pam Bondi trying to remind the world that she's actually doing something, because we've had questions. Pam, what do you do for a living? So she's telling us today.
These are boys in a girl's locker room.
She's suing Maine for violating Trump's EO and going out there and allowing trans girls to compete against girls.
One is too many. It's ridiculous what she said. And doesn't just affect one young woman. It affects the entire team, the entire sport within that school. These young women are not being able to compete because of a boy. The boy in 2024 came in 43rd in his category in track and field. Yet when he competed in the women's sport, he won. You know, Governor Mills shouldn't have said that, shouldn't have done this, should be supporting women in the state of Maine. And we're going to fight for them if they're not. Okay. These are
so there you go.
In a girl's.
She's fighting the state of Maine. All right. There are worse things she could be doing with her time. Worse things that she could be doing with her time. If you don't think that this problem is getting out of hand, JP reacts. JP is on it. He broke this down in his video that dropped yesterday. You want to see how bad it's getting with the trans? You want to see how bad it is with trans women in women's sports?
If you've missed the latest trans sporting highlights, I'm here to fill you in. There's been some winners, there's been some losers, and as you can imagine, there's been some bigger losers. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. This is where we call out lies, hypocrisy, corruption, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters, because truth conquers. You know, things have been a little depressing for me lately. Trump took office, and he makes the announcement like, hey, there's only two genders. I'm like, what's going on here? That doesn't make sense. And then he announces men can't play in women's sports. Ruins my day. And technically they can. It's just schools that allow it lose federal funding. So good, wholesome, inspiring headlines of men in women's sports triumphing over women, if not beating the living crap out of them. They're just few and far between nowadays. So luckily, we've got some highlights for you, and also some lowlights for the trans community in sports. But over in Europe, there's a country, it's a Muslim country. They lock people up for saying words. It's called the UK. So two men, turns out, faced each other in the women's pool championship match.
Now, every time I keep hearing, this is not something that men and women need different sports. How does it hurt the women if men are competing in it? And yet, to that I say, then why is there a women's division? Just have no division. Just have men and women compete against each other. Because if you ask me, I would think, yeah, if you're going to talk about a sport where men and women should be able to be similar to each other, it'd be like chess, billiards. And yet, the women's billiards has two trans dudes competing in the there are no women in the women's billiards, in the women's championship, the women's billiards championship. I don't know why men are better at billiards. It doesn't seem like something that, like, strength is a big deal. I guess in the break, I don't know. I play a little billiards recreationally, kind of about as often as you see me, take weed on the show. That's about how often I play billiards. I used to play more, but yeah. So apparently, this is hilarious to me. The women's pool championship has no women.
Of all the ladies in there, the two men who are now real women, the same as any other woman, except a normal woman was never a man. Aside from that little bit of a difference, these two women in the championship match are just like any other women. And you can see the headline here: two men will face each other for a women's championship title at the Ultimate Pool Women's Pro Series event 2 tonight in some stupid town in the UK. Harriet Haynes and Lucy Smith, ladies and gentlemen, both trans-identified males. Wow, you can tell this is not a liberal headline. Calling them trans-identified males feels heavy to me. It's obviously untruthful. These are women. I don't even know why we would call them trans women, because that takes away from their not God-given womanhood. But anyway, two men pretending to be women beat all female competitors to take the spots in the women's final event. And Harriet Haynes, congratulations to him. He proved himself to be the best woman in the tournament. Now, we'll take a look at a little article. You're not going to believe this. There was some controversy. Hitting some highlights. First, there were some statistics. Some 59% of Americans oppose allowing transgender athletes to play on sport teams that match their gender identity, compared to 19%.
Leave them something. Leave them something. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Why? We're not going to have women's sports soon. We're just not going to have any women's sports. Oh my God. Oh my God. You should have seen the writing on the wall when Caitlyn Jenner won Women of the Year. When the left is like, yeah, we think men are better at everything, even being women. Unbelievable. It's so misogynistic. This is actual misogyny. This is actual patriarchy. You know what signs of the patriarchy? It's trans women. That's signs of the patriarchy right there. It's dudes saying, no, women, we're leaving you nothing. We'll leave you nothing. You have no corner. We will leaving you no quarter. But he was knocking the UK. However, the UK is trying to fight back against their wokest tendencies. At least the Supreme Court of the woke came out with ruling that the purposes of Equality Act 2010, the legal definition of woman is based on biological sex. This ruling implies that certain protections and exclusions in the law are based on biological sex at birth, impacting how services and spaces designated for women are accessed. This is the Trump effect right here, rippling across the pond. Ripple, 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 ripple. That's right. Going right past Greenland over to the UK, rippling across the pond where even the UK Supreme Court says trans women ain't women. Decision has been celebrated some as clarification, protection of women's rights, while it also potentially reshapes discussions around transgender rights and legal protections. Let's get the most famous TERF in the world, J.K. Rowling, on this. And I say TERF not as a slur, but as a compliment. As a compliment. And whoever would thought I would ever refer to radical feminists as a compliment, but in this context, it is. Winners in the UK Supreme Court today, women and girls, trans-identified women continue to benefit from maternity rights, etc., gay people. Freedom of speech, freedom of association, those at risk of discrimination for a belief in the material reality of sex. The fact that so many UK trans activists are shrieking about injustice says it all. You never had the rights you claim you've now lost. You had demands. Your sense of entitlement was the most feminine thing about. Sorry, ladies. I had to. Don't worry. I make the same jokes at Lady Lawgic also. No, I make the same jokes. I'm going to say this as a compliment to my beautiful wife, my beautiful, amazing, and brilliant wife. There was an incident that she had within the last 48 hours. It was an incident where she was upset about something, and she vocalized it, and then she deeply regretted vocalizing it. And she said to me, like, she was disappointed in herself, which this shows you her greatness. And I mean that sincerely. It shows you her greatness, that instead of trying to defend it, like she recognizes if she does something wrong, and she busts her tail to try and correct it, because she's just a remarkable woman. And she said to me, she's like, I don't know why I do that. Why is it that if I see something that bothers me, I feel like I have to say something? And I looked her dead in the eye and said, it's not your fault. You're a woman. And she looked at me, and then she fell over laughing. But yes, she is the beautiful and talented Lady Lawgic. So yeah, I don't just make it on air. I'll say it in real life also. Law of self-defense at SCOTUS only said he should be released from El Salvador, not brought back here. That's correct. The bright side is that WNBA will finally make money. Maybe. Really? Because they weren't doing well before the trans dudes showed up. If I start dressing like a woman, will I start having periods? I have to modify my spelling to get past YouTube censorship. Yeah, I think so. I think that's how it works, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not. There's no medical information on this channel. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Could be. Could be. I would tend to doubt it. But who knows? Who knows? I had one more thing I had two more stories I wanted to cover with you, I think. Oh yeah, this one came up late. Let me see if anyone sent me that Biden thing. No, no one did. But I did get this from Nathan. Nathan shared, I had two people share stuff with me. Halligan News shared this with me, and I hate to.
Father? No, those are the words you use. You can shake your head all you want. No.
Let's open this up. I haven't seen this yet. Here's Hannity talking to crazy lunatic Taylor Lorenz.
You feel joy. Those are your words. So you felt joy over the murder of this father. No, those are the words you use. You can shake your head all you want.
No.
We have the tape. We have the tape. And number
you
one,
should
then you go
play
on
the
to say, and people wonder why we want these executives dead. Then you posted an image of the Blue Cross CEO, Kim Keck. Now, let me ask you, what part of this United Healthcare CEO being a father and a husband don't you understand? And what part of you having a choice of what healthcare provider you choose to deal with or not do you not understand? Because you don't have to go with United. You don't have to go with Blue Cross.
So let me just be extra clear. Never did I say that I felt joy in his death. I said very explicitly, if you play the full segment, and actually people can watch that segment on my YouTube in full, not the edited version that Piers showed. I said that I felt joy, along with millions of other Americans, that the brutality of our healthcare system was finally being acknowledged. I believe that our current healthcare system is murderous, right? I mean, we have
Oh, really?
Americans
Like
with
murderous, like
40%
dead?
higher risk of death compared to insured counterparts.
Taylor,
Nearly
we could talk about
70,000
healthcare all
Americans
night.
die
What the hell does that
each
have to do
year
with Luigi
due to lack of
Mangione
health
killing
insurance.
someone?
Taylor, that's not the topic. If you can talk about healthcare, I don't like the healthcare system either. And a lot of people have experienced frustration, like you're saying. That to me is separate and apart from the debate of praising, calling handsome, smart, intelligence, being joyful over the death and assassination of innocent people. And that's what your comments did. Your comments basically put your seal of approval on murder and assassination. And I'm trying to understand whether you like this guy, like the way he does business or not, you're advocating and putting a smiley face on assassination. And I'm trying to understand what is in your soul.
She's demented.
That doesn't understand he's a
She's
father
a sick, sick
and
human being.
a husband here.
You're a
What are
sick
you missing?
woman,
There
Taylor.
seems to be a missing chip with you.
Sean, if you'd like to hear, I will need to talk in order to explain.
I don't
but
want the
as I've said-
rationalization. I want you to think about what you said. Explain
Oh, I know
what you
exactly what I
said.
said. Again, I'm attempting to right now, so I'd ask you to please give the space and try to listen here.
The space,
As I said once again, never did I say I felt joy that this man died. I said again that I felt joy that millions of Americans or billions of really wealthy Americans and privileged Americans are forced to wake up to the reality that nearly 70,000 Americans die each year due to lack of health insurance.
Through him being
I
murdered.
do feel joyful that that
You're
is an
back
issue
to
that's
the
being talked
healthcare
about.
debate. Why would any human being with a conscience and soul be joyful over an assassination of any person? Why would anybody be joyful over that?
Well, actually, that's a good question.
You're
Why
a
don't
demon.
I explain?
It's a great
Because you're a
question.
demon.
So the other clip that you played
You're
is
Satan.
not me saying my own beliefs. I have quite different beliefs from that.
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
describing, and if you watch the full segment, not just the clip,
Oh, now
you'll see
I'll
that I'm
backtrack what she
describing the
believes.
mentality of these fangirls that show up outside Luigi's court and show up outside his jail cell. Those girls are not me, okay? We have very separate belief systems.
Well,
But
they
I
are
was
you.
describing how they believe. And now let me explain to you why people in America feel this way. People in America feel this way, and they feel outraged because, again, every penny of the $22 billion in
stop it.
profit made.
Stop it. This idiocy. This idiocy. Always trying to justify their twisted perversions. Sick human being. All right. Nathan shared this with me, and I trust Nathan. So Katie Pavlich shared this out. And I haven't even vetted it yet. It's 8 minutes long. I don't know if we'll watch the whole thing. We'll see. But they say watch every second. So we'll watch at least 60 seconds of it, and we'll see.
Don't know the whole story about Rachel and about the crime that was committed against her. Even us, her family, we didn't know all the details. They kept most of it close to their chest, the detectives, because they didn't want to do anything to hurt the case.
Nathan, I need more context
the
here.
integrity of the case. So they kept everything close. I sat for the last 2 weeks in her trial, and we saw layer upon layer upon layer of evidence against the accused, an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. And the things that we thought, well, maybe this might have happened, we didn't know. But when we were at the trial, we got all the puzzle pieces. And I want to share some of those things with you. You know that Rachel's a 37-year-old mother. She has 5 children. We've walked the trail for the last 25 years that we've lived in Maryland. It's a safe place for our family. It's where we go to get a little bit of New England, because that's where we're from, New England. When she went on that trail that day, she was not planning on dying. She wasn't planning on walking to her death. She was planning on going to the grocery store with her girls afterwards.
Oh, this is Rachel Morin's mother.
Victor Martinez, he waited for her. He waited for her to come closer. He saw her. He saw that there was nobody around. He attacked her. He dragged her 150 feet, blood gushing from her head. It left a 150-foot trail of her blood to the culverts, where he picked her up, he threw her against the wall of the tunnel, and he raped her. But before he did that, he stopped on that trail, and rocks, still stained with her blood, he used them to hammer her head against those rocks. They say at least 20 times they could count the cuts in her head. They said that when they did the autopsy, and I've seen the pictures, there's a 6-inch square in the back of her head where the skull is shattered the way that you would crush an eggshell in pieces. 3/4 of her brain hemorrhaged. Her right and left side of her face bashed in. Her beautiful face bashed in. Her head bashed in. Broken bones, fractures. He takes and he drags her some more. He drags her through the thorn bushes. She has all the scrapes and cuts on her body.
And by the way, the murderer who did this was an illegal alien named Victor Martinez Hernandez, who was convicted on first degree rape and first degree sexual offense and kidnapping, as well as obviously first degree murder.
There wasn't 1 inch of her body that didn't have some kind of injury.
Less than an hour to
Whether
deliberate.
it's bruising, broken bones, contusions, the scratches. She had a fractured rib.
I hope this monster gets every bit of gets a nightly visit of every bit of the horror that he visited upon this poor woman's daughter.
Fractured skull. And then he takes her into the tunnel and he picks her up. He throws her against the wall. Blood is gushing from her head. Her hair is soaked in blood. And they showed us pictures of her body against the wall, outlined. The blood outlined her body. And you could see where the blood ran down around her as he was raping her. And then he threw her down and raped her some more. And then he strangled her because he didn't want her to be able to live to tell the story. They said that when they did the autopsy on her neck, that one of the things they do is they open up the neck and they look to see how far the injury is. And they went all the way down as far as an injury is possible, hemorrhaging in the muscles because of how strong and violent the grip was around her. These are the kind of people that have no compulsion.
No humanity.
Like, to them, this is nothing. And when he was sitting in the courtroom, he actually looked like he thought he was going to be set free. There was no remorse on his face at all. This person took my daughter so violently and so gruesomely and so graphically that they sealed the pictures, because I don't want my granddaughters to see these pictures. These are the kind of criminals President Trump wants to remove from our country. These are the kind of criminals that we need to remove from our country. We are American citizens. Why should we allow people like this, violent criminals that have no conscience at all, to murder our mothers, our sisters, our daughters?
This is all Biden.
I don't understand why there's even any kind
Anytime you see a leftist screaming for illegal aliens.
problem with this. And it's not that it's political, like the left or the right, although I understand different parties have used it in the past. But we have to look at it as we are American citizens. We need to protect our families, our borders, our children. I don't care about politics. Well, I do, but I want to preserve life. And that's the only reason why I have taken and spoken about Rachel all this time. If you're a mother here in the room, can you imagine?
Her senator went to San Salvador to try and bring Kilmar home. Assholes.
Standing there alive, you're alive, and someone comes and puts their hands into your chest and rips out your heart. That's what it feels like. It feels like a part of you is being ripped out of you. You can't even describe the pain. Just like you can't describe to your husband what it feels like to carry a baby in your womb, or to feel those first kicks, or to know just intuitively if it's a boy or a girl. It's only a thing that a mother knows. Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children? And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledge my daughter and the brutal death.
He's too busy running into El Salvador to ring.
Leaving her 5 children without a mother, and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen.
It was part of MS-13.
Why does that person have more right than I do, or my daughter, or my grandchildren?
They're sick. You
I
can't share stuff.
don't understand this.
I can't watch stuff like this because this gets me really angry at the left.
Thank you.
My heart weeps for this woman. Wow. Wow. I get really angry. I can't. Why should any human have to feel like that? Have to go through that. To go through what the daughter went through, what her family is still going through. It's horrific. And then these enablers pretend that they're the enlightened ones rather than sick garbage, just twisted beyond humanity. So I can't even really add it. She spoke so eloquently. That was the mother of Rachel Morin, who I hadn't seen that until I just aired it now. That was horrible. It was horrible. It's I have no words. There's nothing you can say. Andy, are you okay? Andy, are you okay? Gene Simmons is the doctor of love. I don't get that reference. Joe, did you answer my question for your super chat? I think I did. You asked if Bosworth can hold Trump's administration in criminal contempt, and I said he's not ignoring SCOTUS. He asked about facilitating it. I don't think he would have the audacity. I don't even know what that would look like to try having him held in criminal contempt. So my short answer is no, because A, he didn't violate what SCOTUS said. SCOTUS told him to facilitate his return and he doesn't do anything to try and negotiate his return. So I think he complied with SCOTUS. So no, and I don't think he really guts to do it. That was my answer to your question, Kim. Where is Van Ness? And El Sal advocating for MS-13. I'm glad that she called out her own senator for that. He should be shamed. He should be shamed. Should be shamed for that. That woman's name is what's her name? Patty Morin.
And tonight, Justice for Rachel.
Oh, did you cover the declassification of the Biden administration plan? We'll send you a DM, if not, with a decent breakdown. I'll try to get to that tomorrow if you send it to me. I'll try to get to that tomorrow. But I'm not going to kid you, my mood. I need to absorb with Patty Morin, just heard from Patty Morin, because that was horrible. I'm sorry to close on such a downer, but this is the reality. This is why we have to stay vigilant about. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. We can't afford to have no other person should have to experience what Rachel Morin experienced, or feel the way Patty Morin is feeling now and will feel for the rest of her life. It's awful. It's really awful. Think about what's happening with MS-13 and read this from Isaiah 5:20-24. You shared this earlier. Yeah. Those are ones that held contempt for not turning the planes around, not over the Maryland man. Yeah, he's not getting anything, Judge Woodward. I don't think. Don't worry about Judge Woodward. The 28-minute Biden speech. Can I put a link in here, Joe? Maybe I'll cover it tomorrow. Send it over to me, Barb. On send me a DM, and I'll look into going over it tomorrow. There were a couple of 3-minute clips that my wife sent me on WhatsApp, but I couldn't access them. So, yeah. All right. I'm not going to kid you. I'm kind of. I need to process what I just heard. All right. Tomorrow, God willing, I will be back here 10 p.m. and we'll do what we do. Maybe I'll do a locals at some point also. goodlogic.locals.com. That's goodlogic.locals.com. I tried doing a drive down stream. Didn't have good reception, so I had to abandon that quickly. But I'll try to do a locals tomorrow also. All right. That's my show. That's what I got for you. It's time for me to land my plane here. So put your trays in the upright lock position. Fasten your seatbelts as we're coming in for a relatively quick landing here. Stay away from lab meat. That's for they, them. It's certainly not for you. That's just for people who are competing in women's billiard competition championships. It's not for you. It's not for you. And do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't eat the bugs. Don't do that. I thank you all for joining me. I hope you had a good time. I know I did. Oh, and Charles, one last thing here. I'm glad Trump is arresting illegals, but he also now wants to send American citizens from the DJ called extreme terrorists to CECA. I worry about when the left overreact to the next January 6th like scenario. They can blame us. They're going to blame us anyway. They're going to blame us anyway. And he was talking about whether it's legal or not. He didn't say he's going to do that. He says he wishes he could. That's different from doing it. And I think a lot of us wish it. But that doesn't. There's a big difference between what we'd like to do and what we will do. But thank you for weighing in, my brother. It's an important thing. I don't want him to break the law. I don't want him, despite how much I might despise these monster enablers, and I do deeply despise them. You can't break the law to prosecute them, because then there's no boundaries and then we have no law. So I agree with you on that. I thank you all for joining me. God willing, I'll see you tomorrow night. Till then, have a good night and Godspeed.